We got a lot to talk about on today's episode. Pokemon, Apex Legends, Switch Pro details, Bethesda, and screen adaptation from beloved franchises. All that and more on this episode of Switch Focus. I'm Fonz, here with Louie.
Geralt of Rivia. I'm just kidding. Louie.
And this is a Switch Focus edition of the Fonz and Louie show. Joining us today as our expert on all things Pokemon is Ian Shirley.
Oof, expert. That feels like some big shoes to fill, but I'm going to do my best.
All right, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Also joining us as our expert on Apex Legends, Adam.
Woo! Yeah, once again, Apex expert is probably not the best title for me. I've played once or twice, you know.
He's a liar.
Yeah.
He preaches on the pulpit of Apex Legends where he is trying to convert me. It's still we shall see.
We need to play together. I will carry you to close to victory, you know.
On the Switch? Well, we'll talk about that more. On the Switch.
It's cross compatible. It's cross.
Hey, I'll take close to victory.
There you go.
Speaking of that, Adam, where might people recognize you from? They're looking at your mug and they're thinking, where have I seen this guy before?
Everyone thinks they went to high school with me all the time, but you might know me from the YouTube channel React, where I started on Teens React, and then I moved on to Adults React, which I don't know if I'm still on it yet. I don't really know yet. We haven't filmed in a while, so I guess I'll let you know what happens there. But that is where I cut my teeth.
All right, cutting his teeth at Adults React. We shall see. Hopefully soon we'll get another video. Now let's talk Pokemon. The first thing on our itinerary, which we will turn to Ian Shirley. Tell us about your first experience with Pokemon. Why are you a fan of the franchise? Where did it all begin?
Oh man, let's see here. I could tell you about like the first time you held one of those games, first time you hold one of those cards, but it really started for me as kind of like a playground mystery, you know. I had some friends who out on the blacktop would start swapping some cards, and at this point, I don't think the show had hit. I'm pretty sure a game had hit, but kids weren't talking about it yet. And I still remember the first card that someone gave me. So one of the kids on the playground just gave it to me. In retrospect, I figured that it's something that they didn't want to hold on to this one. It was maybe not their favorite Pokemon, but I held it dear to my heart. I had a Ponyta card, little fiery horse, and it was just enough outside of the normal to make me want to dig deeper. Cut to probably a few weeks later, the whole franchise starts picking up steam. I had an after-school program that I attended, and one kid who brought in a Game Boy that everyone huddled around, which is pretty interesting to think about nowadays. See a little 3-inch screen and 7-9-year-olds huddled around the same little device there.
I can barely huddle around a 4K monitor at this day and age.
But man, like that it was magic because it was something unlike anything we had seen before, like I guess I didn't have the Zelda experience growing up, so a lot of my games were still just going from left to right, and so suddenly I see this dude exploring a little town, collecting little monsters, seeing new creatures popping up, seeing that he's collecting them on his team, and it just kind of cracked my head open and made me decide that this is something I need to involve my life with. And despite my mother's best efforts to convince me that it would be a phase that ended, here I am 25 years later.
And here we all are, grown adults, talking about Pokemon. It never ends. Going from when the time that people called it Pokemon and it would drive us insane.
I know people who still say that, and it still drives me insane.
The cultural phenomenon that it is, and you don't know the name, I think it's intentional neglect to just say it wrong, just to piss us off.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Ian, for sharing that. What about you, Adam? What is your experience with Pokemon? Were you ever into it or indifferent to it?
I was relatively indifferent to it. for some reason, I never got into Pokemon. You know what I got into was Yu-Gi-Oh. I got really, really into Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And so at home, at my parents' house, I have a binder, you know, that thick of just Yu-Gi-Oh cards, a lot of them. I always thought Pokemon was cool, but it never really clicked with me and whatnot. I tried playing the games and I just couldn't get into those games either. But the TV show I got really into, and then the one big movie where I think it's with Mewtwo. That's like the main
the
villain.
First movie.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I watched as a kid many a time. I don't remember a lick about it now, but it was sick when I watched it. I was super stoked on it. And then it sort of fell off on its own. I didn't really think about it until honestly, it was hanging out with you guys that turned me back onto Pokemon, and now it's like big in my mind again. All of a sudden, you know, now it seems like everything just happened all at once. Now they're coming out with new things for it. They're coming out with like it's like in the forefront of media again, and then you guys are talking about it all the time, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to play Pokemon now, right now. So
You must.
yeah, I might go get a Game Boy just so I could play Pokemon, or maybe a Switch. One of
No need. You just need a Switch. It works as both. It works as a console or a handheld.
There you go. I'm gonna have to drop some money on a Switch now.
Yeah, and thankfully it's only like $300, which chump change.
Yeah,
Chump change.
I make that in a day.
Right, exactly. What about you, Louie? Tell us about your first experience with Pokemon.
Before Pokemon, I don't know if you guys remember this. There used to be like these handheld devices, a lot like these arcade games. That had fixed movements on the screen. I don't know, like they would have like basic games like Tetris, right? But you could, if you pressed on the screen, you could actually see where like all the possible movements were. And there was this one I got where you were taking care of like this little puppy, right? I think I might have been like 7 or 8, but you were taking care of this little puppy, and man, I took care. Like you had it as it was born, all the way to a big dog.
Was it a Tamagotchi?
It might have been. This was some time ago.
I think so. I thought it was like, wasn't it Neopets or something like that?
Neopets.
But
Yeah.
it was before Neopets. I remember it was called something else, but
These, like those Tiger Electronic games.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much fun I had raising something digitally, right? So then when Pokemon came along, I was blown away. The first Pokemon experience was on the Game Boy. So before the show, I would say that I was playing the Game Boy game. This was Pokemon Red while watching the show. So I had the experience of watching the show, role playing it too in my game, just having a great time getting into that world. And Ian mentioned something that was really cool. I remember there was no YouTube, there was no internet really. So you would talk to your friends, like your neighbors. You'd catch up with your neighbors, and then they would tell you, "Hey, have you tried this glitch out?" And then I would go back home. Oh my God, I need to try this. Hey, do you know how to catch Mew? And it was like really exciting. Like there was something new every time you talked to someone else. So definitely it gave you exploration vibes just by speaking to other people who played Pokemon. And I would say during that generation, like that was exciting. Exploring things on your own or talking to your friends, you would hear new things here and there. So
it definitely made it a lot more special. But the countless hours that I spent chasing the dragon per se with all the different special glitches and special Pokemon you could find if you only did this one thing correctly one time, I would have killed for YouTube back then.
Yeah.
You know what I got? The Scholastic Book Fair in elementary school, they had a book that was like really small, and it was like 301 glitches and every cheat possible for GameCube and all those things like that. And I got those every year, every single time. So that was before YouTube was a thing and before walkthroughs were a thing. I would read these books of game-breaking glitches or hacks or even just cheat codes, you know? And I had like for the GameCube, the GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye. Oh yeah.
That greatest 007 game to date.
Yeah, man. And I remember reading that book and just seeing all the glitches and all the cheat codes that I could do for it. And I remember just demolishing my brother because I had unlimited ammo and infinite health. But it's just so funny to hear everyone talking about like before YouTube, because like it's such a part of our culture now that you don't even think about what happened before YouTube, you know?
You had to talk. You had to socialize with people in your neighborhood or
socializing in COVID.
Unless you had access to books, we always threw that Scholastic book away because my parents were like, "It's a waste of money. Not giving you that," right? it's books.
Yeah.
Right? But it's all about video games.
That was
Little
our
did they
argument.
know.
Hey, I'm reading, okay?
I'm reading.
Yeah, right.
I'm just looking
Little-
at picture, but it's reading for me.
Little did you know it was a walkthrough guide for a video game, but hey, there's words in there. I'm getting up to college level on this.
That's what I say. I could feel myself getting older, waxing poetic about, well, I didn't have YouTube back in my day. I had to just Google it and read some internet forums and eventually find the same information with no extra help.
But yeah, my first experience with Pokemon was experiencing it through Luis at first and seeing him play the Game Boy. And I think what boggled my mind the most about it was when they invented that cord that you can connect the Game Boy to another Game Boy and you could trade Pokemon. I thought, this is witchcraft. How could you trade? Like, I would literally look at the wire and be like, do they just like send a little Pokeball through this cable?
That was literally the image on screen. You'd see the little tube, and in a little bubble, a little Pokemon would float on by, and my kid
Remember
brain
that?
is just like, that's exactly what's happening. That is a perfect visual representation of what's happening here.
And I was like, that amazed me, right? And I didn't really, I was the youngest of, so I got like Pokemon Red when they were already moved on. They had Pokemon Silver, and I was like, for the first time experiencing Pokemon Red, because I was just low on the totem pole in our family. But when I played it, I was like, this is awesome. Hey, when do I get to catch the legendary Pokemon? They're like, oh, that's the first 150 are only in that one. I'm like, oh, sick though. But like, I don't think I was at that level yet to really understand the game and play it well until the Game Boy Advance came out and I got to play Pokemon Sapphire. That's when I felt like I was finally like old enough to really get it. And I played it to completion, and I became a Pokemon fan from then on. And I started playing games like Pokemon Coliseum, of course, watching the anime, playing the card game. I got into Yu-Gi-Oh as well. It was around that time too.
Yeah.
Being the youngest. And they had some pretty cool Yu-Gi-Oh games as well. But we can maybe talk about that on another show. But ever since then, I mean, Pokemon has never been absent. I kind of always followed it here and there. I could always tell you which game was out, and like, oh, it's Black and White, or it's Pearl and Diamond now. And it's even if I wasn't playing them at that time, the first chance I got to play Sword and Shield on a console, I'm like, let me play it. I want to see what this is like on a console. And man, it surprised me in good ways and bad ways, but all the while it's still an enjoyable game, and it's still timeless, a cultural phenomenon for sure that I don't see it dying off anytime soon.
Yeah, that being said, I was going to mention, for me specifically, Pokemon sort of was absent from my mind, but it was never absent completely, if that makes sense. It's like, when someone brings up Pokemon, I know that it's very still culturally relevant. I know that kids are still very into it. It's very a popular thing where, the newest generation always discovers it and then they blow up with it. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was never really like on the forefront of my mind, but it was always there looming in the background for me. You know what I mean? It's never been gone since its, creation and spawning. It's never been gone from media.
Yeah, and it's done a really good job of reincarnating itself with every generation that has come. So it's constantly breeding a new fan base, every generation. It's amazing. But with that, let's get right into our Q&A. We're going to be focusing primarily on Pokemon Shield for this, or Sword and Shield for this segment. But first, I wanted to talk, what was your favorite Pokemon game before Pokemon Sword and Shield? And this is not just the Game Freak Pokemon games. This can be any of the other ones like Pokemon Snap on the N64, or the Pokemon puzzle games, Pokemon Battle, or the ones where they're a little more in the obscurity, not as popular, but still out there. What were your favorite Pokemon games to date? And if not, Adam, if you don't have one, you can let us know which one has piqued your interest enough to be like, maybe I'll try that out.
You know what? Just based on that question right now, I want to say Pokemon Red because you have mentioned it so many times in this interview so far. That's the only reason.
Right.
I could not tell you a single Pokemon game, if I'm going to be honest.
I think that was the first one that was released, right? Was it Pokemon Red or Pokemon?
Yes.
Yeah, was Red released first, or was Red and Blue released together?
Well, we all have the internet.
Red and green were released together.
Red and green.
There you go. Yeah, did we ever get a blue? I think blue came out with yellow, didn't it?
Blue came out in America instead of green because
Oh,
the developers
I
thought
see.
that red and blue would sell better in America, being more American colors.
oh,
Mhm.
did not
That's
know
a
that.
very interesting fact, and I'm gonna have to take your word on it because you could say anything and I'd believe you.
Right. That's why he's our resident expert.
Yeah.
None of us knew that except for Ian. So speaking of Ian, why don't you let us know what's your favorite Pokemon game?
All right, absolute favorite Pokemon game. I would probably just have to go with all of them. So let's narrow this down here. I'm gonna go at this in a 3-tier phase here. If I had to say the one that meant the most to me, I would have to say Pokemon Emerald. It was the 3rd generation. It was the game that combines them. Red and blue had yellow version, gold and silver had crystal version. There was always kind of like the director's cut that they would put out every generation for a while.
I have a question for you,
Yes,
resident
sir.
expert. So I don't understand what the color system has ever meant. Is that just sort of basically like 1, 2, 3, or is there like a thing with them?
Not really. It's more just titling it for theming sake because it only the color system was only really the first 2 generations. Since the game was always based around trading with other people and of course selling more copies, they would design 2 versions of the same game, which were the same characters, same story, but variants in which Pokemon you may encounter, and then you would trade between the 2 between your friends.
So if we had 2 Game Boys, you had red, I had blue, could you put red Pokemon on my blue version and trade them?
Yes, we could trade for ones that were only available in our games. So it's like to complete Pokemon, you had to have friends. You had to know people who had the other ones. You could not do this by yourself.
And
That
what
is actually incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It made it very exciting to play with your friends for that reason because you would, be able to transfer over. And if you had different versions, I don't know if it was big for blue and red, but if you had different versions, sometimes you could catch different types of Pokemon. So to complete your roster, you had to trade with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Catch them all.
Mm-hmm.
I think the didn't it also it changed the legendary Pokemon you would encounter at the end. I felt like in in Ruby version you would encounter that huge like lava looking dude. I forget his name, but in Sapphire you had that whale, that blue whale. You can correct me on the names.
Groudon and Kyogre. I can anything. Just chime in. I'll give them for you.
Yeah,
I am genuinely blown away at that. Like, I don't know why I didn't know that before because it feels like something that everybody should know, but I just did not know that. And I now need to play these games.
well, get one.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. And then get yourself a friend, or in my case, a little sister's Game Boy that being unused, in which you can just put it in and link up with yourself. And
So you can just play both games at the same time. Right on.
That's cool. So yeah, so Pokemon Emerald.
Pokemon Emerald version. Oh yeah, that was a 3rd generation. So I think that was probably the first time Pokemon started to dip a little bit in popularity. But it was also the first next generation jump that it really made. It was on the first time it was on the Game Boy Advance. Not that generation was, and it was also the first time that the game added a ton to do after you beat the game. There was this thing called the Battle Tower, which was basically just battle over and over and over until you get your butt kicked. Like just this almost no stop, just to get the high score to see how many people you can beat before you just completely tap out. And so it was the first time that after catching everything I wanted to catch, maxing out my team, getting every gym badge, defeating the Pokemon League, doing everything the game designs for you to do, I had something to just keep me going, So that was I like to brag about my game time clock on that one because if I was ever to track down that old cartridge, it would say that I put 900 hours into that game.
Awesome. That's stuff of legends.
But I will admit to most of that being falling asleep playing it. So that's
Yep.
I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear that last part and think that you are 900 hours into Pokemon on one cartridge.
On one cartridge. Yeah. Other than that, the one that sparked the most interest for me was probably Pokemon Snap. because that introduced to me the idea that it was more than what I was being presented in the little pixel graphics on my screen. That kind of, it made it all real to see 3D renders of the Pokemon running around in their like natural environments, say N64's natural environments, so just flat triangles with trees on them. Yeah, but that was the one that kind of that brought out of my imagination what I thought I was looking for. And then the last one that means the most to me, honestly, and it feels like a weird answer to being such a fan, but it was Pokemon Go. And that was because
I played that.
There you go. There you go.
That I played.
Yeah, that one it reignited a dying flame for me. And I'd say that was pretty that would be it. I had played the last couple that had hit the 3DS before that, and it was definitely something that I could see myself fading away from. You know, and I was like, in a few years, I'm probably going to be done with this. I think it's they're going to continue making it for kids, and I'm just going to have to walk away and let them have it. And then they put it on my cell phone and made me pay $20 a week to get more items to throw at Pokemon, and that I could get down at the pier, and I'd be like, well, I'm full on board again. I get to act like an adult addict and play my favorite childhood games.
And it's socially acceptable. Yes.
Exactly.
Because you're exercising. This is good for your health, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely wasn't driving around town.
No,
Only
right.
And
only walking.
I have a memory too of when we would take our students out to go Pokemon Go hunting, and it's funny because we were going there, for our own pleasure as well. We were enjoying doing this, but it was hilarious. So we got to this Pokemon raid, which was an area next to our work, and then there was a gym there, and we were going to check it out. It was I'm trying to remember if it was Mewtwo. It was definitely a really powerful Pokemon. And so we're going there and we're just hoping, like, I hope there's people there. And then we see like a sea of adults, not kids, adults, just a bunch of adults. And we're thinking, could it be that these guys, oh, they definitely were. And they were out there like, oh, are you guys joining in? You joining in? And I was just blown away. It was totally like people from our generation who were kids growing up with Pokemon, playing Pokemon as adults, and so into it too. People were pulling in with their cars on their phones and like rolling down their window. Hey, are you guys all getting in? It definitely, I agree with Ian. Pokemon Go has its own like experience.
I'm sure that makes it really special and like normalizes it for kids nowadays, because I remember, my mom having to juggle the news segments of whether or not Pokemon was going to, invite demons into my soul. So
You're not alone in that. That's something that's pretty amazing. I didn't even think about Pokemon Go. It truly revolutionized Pokemon. It kind of broke that barrier of Pokemon is its own world. And then you see them in your backyard. Not only do you see them in your backyard, like on a map, you see them through your phone in this augmented reality, where you're just like in my backyard.
I was gonna say it's so interesting to see for me, who I've never played Pokemon. I played Pokemon Go, and I was gonna say, hearing your anecdote about that reminded me of like I downloaded Pokemon Go because it was revolutionary when it first came out, and I was like, okay, this might be the thing that gets me into Pokemon. It didn't, but I played for a while, and me and my buddy we hopped on our longboards, grabbed our iPhones, and we skated from Carlsbad to Oceanside and back at like probably 2 a.m. because we were just doing that and just catching Pokemon. And I remember being in Carlsbad and this guy was like, yeah, there's some skeleton type Pokemon over by the Oceanside Pier. And we skated from Carlsbad to Oceanside to the pier to go see if we can catch. I don't even know if that's a thing. I just remember them telling me about skeleton types. And I was like, whoa, what is that? I got to go catch one. Yeah, I was just blown away by that. But yeah, and then that was something I was gonna say about Pokemon Go. Oh wow, it's evaded me. But that was the thing that bridged the gap for me of like, this is something that I'm actually kind of interested in. It's not just this game anymore. It's like this is revolutionary technology, revolutionary for games, and it's Pokemon on the forefront right there. So I thought it was fantastic. So I guess before you talking about that, I was like, oh, no Pokemon game has ever affected me. That one did. That one definitely did.
I think that every adult gamer goes through that at some point where you, especially for us when we grew up when it was considered more of a childhood hobby. that you go through that moment of you start to second guess whether or not this is still something you need to be doing as heavily as you are. And to just see the world outside of my hobby embrace that franchise the way it did with Pokemon Go. Like that, I don't think we'd have $500,000 Charizard cards taken over YouTube Live if it wasn't for Pokemon Go. Like, and just making it normal. Yeah.
It's very validating as well. You know, I think that's the sickest part about it is this thing that was not necessarily taboo, but, you know, video games and games in general were like a nerd thing. You know what I mean? And now they are the forefront of media today, you know, and that's the best part about it. And it's almost validating all of us, you know, who grew up gamers and grew up not necessarily outcasts, but just with different hobbies. You know, we weren't the football players. I can't speak for you. You might have been, but I was never. But like I was never the jock or the football player in high school or anything along those lines. I played, you know, Pokemon Go and did all those things. And it's super validating to see it take over the forefront of media and hear actors say that, you know, the best stories in the future are going to be told through the lens of a video game. I think that's just so incredible for me.
We are seeing it now.
Oh yeah.
But Louie, let's talk about you. What is your all-time favorite Pokemon game?
So it's going to be two experiences, right? As experience as a young child, it was Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow was a very special game to me because it was the first time you could walk around with a Pokemon outside your Pokeball. I mean, it was Pikachu. I think Pikachu was the only one you could, but Pikachu was my Pokemon. So that's why it was very special to me. And like I said before, following the cartoon show, playing the game, you know, I really just immersed myself in that world. Like I was Ash, right? I would even name my character Ash. And what was amazing to me is just going through that storyline, just remembering the episodes and implementing them in the game. But now my other experiences, which has been really special, is I've been playing Pokemon Shield with my son. And it's my son's first experience playing Pokemon Shield. And it's really cool seeing how much he got into it. He had a semi-interest in Pokemon. It wasn't something that like he really went out of his way. He did like the classic cartoon shows. He didn't watch the newer ones. But I tried to see like maybe he'll like I did push him a little bit just because it was something very special in my life. And it wasn't until he played Pokemon Shield full run. And it's funny, he didn't ask for the game. I had just bought it, and I was playing it. And then he's just watching. He's watching me play the game, and I was like, hey, Dad, can I play? And I was like, yes, you can. And so he plays the game, and before I know it, like he already passed me up, beat the game in a week, right? And he wanted to just collect all the Pokemon, which was really cool. Like me now, like I'm not going to collect all of them. I'm just going to do one playthrough. But just seeing him, like I was remembering what it was like for me. I want to catch all of them. Like all of them, Dad, and asking me about the expansion pack and just wanting to keep taking it further. So I would say that Pokemon Shield is special to me now because I've been watching him play it, and then just going back and forth, just watching his progress. He's watching my progress. It's like a time machine. It's awesome.
It's going full circle. Yeah, it's really cool. I come downstairs. You know, my kids are old enough to where they can kind of just turn on the TV and get things going, and it's the weirdest but coolest thing to wake up in the morning and hear the theme song of that 90s Pokemon show go on, you know, and you hear the, I want to be the very best. And I'm like, I get up out of bed on a Saturday morning and I'm like,
those are my boys. Right. Those are
You're
my boys.
Reminds me of my youth.
Yeah. And I'll watch some of them with them and like over breakfast. And it's just like, you feel like all of those experiences as a kid, but now through your kids, and it's still cool. Like it hasn't lost any of its quality. It's still amazing. I still enjoy the show. I think that they tapped that formula with the original Pokemon show with, you know, Team Rocket and Pikachu and the chemistry between Ash and Brock and Misty, and just like it was just such a great show. It never got old seeing Team Rocket blast off again, you know. Like I don't know, it was the premise of every episode. Team Rocket was just like, and you find that they just had like this symbiotic relationship. Like at some point they didn't even hate each other. They were almost like coworkers. Like they just got in each other's way, and they would also team up sometimes because the conundrums would involve them as well. And they're like, all right, we got to work together to get out of this sticky situation. And they would always end up betraying them, and Team Rocket blasts off again.
Oh yeah, they were important to me. Same thing growing up. I'll never forget the Jesse James, and of course, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid impression too.
That's pretty good.
As someone who continued to watch it way longer than I definitely think necessary, that formula didn't really change.
Really?
Yeah. I probably stopped watching somewhere in the late like 2000s, and yeah, for as far as I remember, I watched through I think Master Quest and Diamond and Pearl, and that was about the same thing. I mean, the partners that the Ash would travel with changed up, but
Yeah.
I think Team Rocket really should have been, fired around the street long before that point with one main goal to steal Pikachu, and they can't do it in 15 years,
Right.
They should have been fired. Yeah, my kids recently started the most recent one where Pokemon are starting to be Dynamax. Like it's, I think it's more with the current one where Pokemon become enormous. Which we'll talk about that, Adam. I see that.
Yeah.
I see that look on your face. It's
What the heck is that?
What is a Dynamax?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay, what?
We'll cover Dynamax because it's pretty epic. I think that was one of the groundbreaking things of this current game that came out. But yeah, my kids started watching that, and it is. I'm like, it's different people. It's still Ash, but there's other people, and it does keep some of the same tropes, and that it follows the same formula of the kind of buffoon bad guys. But it just didn't hold my kids the same as the classic one did. Even though that's available, the graphics are better, everything looks better. They still prefer, without my influence, they're watching the Ash Ketchum with Gary and Brock and Misty, and like it's just something timeless about it.
They had something perfect and completely nail on the head about the original series.
Yep.
Yeah. It was the theme song. I'm convinced.
It really is. The theme song is something that me, as not a Pokemon, guy, loves the theme song. One of my favorite bands at Warped Tour, and I'll never forget it. They're called Issues. They opened their set with like a metal version of that song, and their whole stage setup was Pokemon themed. The drum kit was like Pokeball themed, and like they had like different things on stage, and they opened with that, and I was like, that was badass. That was so sick.
They should have played the 25th anniversary concert. That would have been awesome.
That would have been tight, dude.
All Pokemon themed. That'd be really cool. Going back to the question, I think my favorite Pokemon game of all time was Pokemon Coliseum. And again, I wouldn't say it was particularly the quality of the game, or I think it's the experience of, it was the first console that I ever owned was the GameCube. That I could say was mine and mine alone. And then I played Pokemon Coliseum, and it was just so different, yet it kept a lot of the same elements, and the animations were different. The character was different. The world was huge. I loved just the ability to travel around. And the map was, you could see it from the third person perspective, but it wasn't an overview. It was more like straight in front of you. And I just remember really enjoying the game and just how the battle looked, and it just changed my whole I'd say it reignited the flame of Pokemon, where I was like, this is something really special. This could really change how Pokemon games are made, and how the battle sequences can really be different, because you kind of see your character, they move a little bit, and it makes the other character move a little bit, and as you get older and there's just so much more out there that's more interactive and more just stimulating to your senses, that kind of will get old. But then when they progress, and now you see like my Pokemon is literally making contact with the other Pokemon, and you see the flame blast that you see from the cartoons being animated in the game, like it just immerses you in a different way. The magic really captures you, I think, or at least I can speak for myself. It captured me more when I could see it all play out in a way that was just more stimulating and just looked better. And I really felt like I was in that world, being a 10-year-old kid when I played it.
And this was on a Nintendo 64, right?
No, Pokemon Coliseum was on the GameCube.
Oh, GameCube.
It was developed by Genius Sonority. They developed kind of the more non-typical games of like the mid 2000s, early 2000s era of like Pokemon games. It's the best pick, I think, but the Game Freak games, it was definitely Pokemon Sapphire, because I just remember that being super special. I don't know why, but I think that was the first game that I actually got the bike and I got to use it. And I just felt like the map just looked so much better. The characters looked better. The Pokemon were cooler.
Did Sapphire and Emerald come out around the same time?
Yeah, so it's Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Those were the ones that I remember. Like, I don't remember any of them before that, but I remember specifically when I was, either elementary school or I had to be in elementary school. I was not in middle school. Elementary school. And I remember hearing, this is Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Sapphire, Pokemon Emerald, and I just remember not understanding the reason that they were called Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby. So thank you for clarifying.
Now you know.
And now I do know. But I just remember hearing about them all the time, and I remember other kids would play them, and I was I don't even think I was allowed to play video games at that age, or maybe I was. I don't remember, but I wasn't playing those ones.
Yeah. Well, now let's talk about the dream team. If you had to pick your 6 Pokemon, and they could be any of them, that you would carry around in your waist, right? Which nowadays they're actually making toys like that. Kids have a belt and they can carry around like 6 Pokeballs, and they're really cool.
Sick.
But you wouldn't catch me wearing those out in public. What would be your dream team? What 6 Pokemon would you carry with you? And it could be any. They could all be legendary Pokemon if you want to go that way, or they can all be starter Pokemon if you like them cute. What would they be? Ian, are you ready to tackle that? With audio, preferably.
There's 2 different ways to tackle that. There's the one way where people, really intense fans of the series will get into the competitive side of it and start telling you, whose stats and EVs are going to line you up in a way that's going to allow you to have the best advantage over any other team that you could possibly be thrown at. There's another version of that that's, whether or not you're allowed to have legendaries and mythical Pokemon on your team. Is that cheating? Is that not? I think the only true way to really pick the best Pokemon team is to go with the ones that look the most badass and the cutest. That's it. It's the only way to do it. It's the
I'm gonna have to rework my 6 then, because I totally went the advantageous route. I'm like, okay, so this is a grass type Pokemon and a water type Pokemon, so he's gonna give me the advantage on 2, right?
You know what? That's a perfectly valid way to do it. That absolutely is. But let's be real. Everyone plays it, and they're at least their first time through. You pick the cutest and the coolest looking. That's it. That's all you get.
That's true. Why I picked.
Yes, I agree.
That is how I would do it currently.
Yes,
that's why I picked Blastoise. Of all the water Pokemon to choose, I picked Blastoise in my 6 because he just looks hardcore.
Fair enough. And that's kind of the great thing about this is that when you go through a dream team and you hear of anybody's like favorites, there's a few that kind of you see as repeats, but for the most part, I mean, at this point we're at almost 900 Pokemon, so you will you will
the mouth drops, the jaw hits the floor.
I'm loving this. I'm just learning so much right now. We still need to talk about Dynamo Pokemon. What did you call them?
The
Dynamax.
Dynamax.
We'll get there.
I like Dynamo.
Forgive my ignorance, my friends.
It's all right. All right. So if we're gonna tackle the dream team there, let's see. I like to think about who regularly shows up on mine, and I think it's funny because when you talk to people who have favorites, a lot of the time a big chunk of those favorites come from the game that they played as a kid. So my team relies heavily on characters from the first and second game, because that's just the ones that are drilled into the back of my head like stone tablets now. So number 1 shows up in every single game that's been on my team from the beginning is Gyarados.
Yes.
Gyarados is, I think, one of the absolute coolest looking Pokemon. He's the best lesson, I believe, for kids to pull from any Pokemon game. The idea that he comes from the weakest and considerably lamest Pokemon in existence.
Oh, totally. You have like the useless fish, but you
Starfish
just wait,
one, right?
You just
Or
wait.
No, it's called Magikarp.
Magikarp, yeah.
Yes.
Orange goldfish. Yes.
I know that it's
It
useless.
does nothing but flop.
Yeah. It can flop around. If you're lucky, you can get one that knows tackle, but it's mostly just splash. Just kind of get your opponent mildly wet.
Annoyed. I've just annoyed him.
Exactly. And there's really no way to make that like a competitive battler, but you still have to find a way to let it go out into the battle, take it back, get it to survive, to get it just strong enough to level up far enough to where you can get one of the coolest Pokemon in the game.
Let's look at it really quick.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so sick.
Right? Who doesn't want one of those?
So to me, like the lesson of perseverance in a Gyarados, to me, if you have a Gyarados, you either were an absolute cheater and you caught it in the wild in that form, or you caught a Magikarp early on and you put your nose to the grindstone to figure it out. All right, so that's I've always had one with me from day one. Second one on my team very often is Raichu.
Yes.
Raichu to the casual fans would legit Pikachu's mom maybe like
I to the person who's not a fan at all, Raichu has always been Pikachu ripoff.
Pikachu ripoff. Raichu is just stronger Pikachu. Raichu is Pikachu evolved. It's Pikachu's dad. So
gotcha. Right on.
Yeah, it's old Pikachu.
It's old Pikachu.
And I think a lot of that came from seeing for years and years and years Pikachu being the face of the franchise. Not that he's not still, but I mean now we have like Jigglypuff is well known, Eevee is well known. Like there's other faces that you see as popular Pokemon now. But it was Pikachu. That was it. It was the only one your mother could name for 20 years was Pikachu. So just knowing that I could make a Pikachu even better. He was bigger. He was stronger. The episode of the original anime when Ash goes up against Lieutenant Surge, the electric gym leader, there was nothing cooler than those hero shots of just that big chunky Raichu just standing his ground. Mm-hmm. So Raichu's been on my team forever. Let's see. If I had to go for another strong one, probably comes out of Gen 2. And it's a little bit more of an embarrassment, but at least when I was younger, now fully embrace it. Blissey is one of my absolute favorite Pokemon.
See, that's one I'm going to have to look up. Why Blissey?
Blissey is an absolute tank. Blissey looks like a Pokemon made so your sister would play Pokemon. It is probably one of the more feminine Pokemon available, at least at the time. And that didn't bother me as a kid. I probably embraced that a little bit. But Blissey was also incredibly strong and had a defense and HP stat that was through the roof. This thing was a brick wall that could just take punches all day long. So I think there was a little bit of the counterculturist in me that was, I'll take the girly Pokemon. I don't care. But more than anything else, that was my competitive. There we go. There it is.
Oh, I do know what that one is.
So this one or the one that comes before this is Chansey. That was the one that the nurse in the show always had.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the evolved version of that, which only evolves if you are good enough friends with it.
Very interesting.
Moving on from there, every game tends to change for me. I'm pretty big into holding on to a bird Pokemon. I know it's really easy to collect a bunch in the beginning and then have your team be a bunch of like field weaklings, But for some reason, my end team, that the poster from the Elite Four after you beat them that shows your whole team that went with you, I always have a bird, and it's one like the beginning bird. So Pidgeot would probably end up being Pidgeot would be one of my main go-tos, solely because I've done that the most times. Noctowl's been on the team a few times. In the later games, there's been a couple others, but none have really been as good. Actually, in the newest one, in Sword and Shield, oh man, and now it's just completely blank in my mind on it. What was the? Either of you guys remember the name of the big black crow that carries you around in a taxi?
Oh man, I'll have to look that up.
Right? It's a completely. I feel unprepared as the expert, but that one.
Well, to be fair, it is new, right?
It is newer.
To be fair, there's 900.
That's true. That is true. Hey, some of us can rap those 900. We just kept going from the original 150 and continued the rap.
I've been Googling the Pokemon that I can remember, and I don't know their names, so I'm just sort of typing the description and then adding Pokemon afterwards, and they're coming up. And I'm like, wow, that's what it's called.
That's impressive because with 25 years of deviant art out there,
right?
you never know what you're gonna run into.
Some of them have evolved even more on the internet with kind of people taking liberties on them.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what my third evolution of Sobble was gonna look like until I got like a confirmed Pokemon wiki, and I was terribly disappointed. But still, there were other ones that looked epic, and I was hoping, I hope this is what he's gonna end up looking like. But sure enough, I was wrong.
It was Corviknight.
Like
I think that's the one.
Corviknight. You're right. Yeah. That is correct. Corviknight was pretty good.
Awesome.
So let me think. If I had to throw one more in there, probably an Ampharos, which was the final form of an electric sheep from Gen 2. Oh. That ends up being one of my favorites too. Just because it looked cool. I don't really have a better answer than that. I thought it looked cool.
Totally understandable.
That's acceptable.
Yeah.
All of my answers are because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
100. So that is the best way to approach it.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to it, you pick a Pokemon because they look cooler than even some of the more powerful ones. I don't know what it is about the Japanese have a funny way of making really powerful Pokemon look very simple, like
and unassuming.
And unassuming. That's a very good word for it. And some of like the more intense, hardcore looking ones are actually not that powerful.
Like there's the rock with arms that's bulky.
Geodude.
Yeah, he looks tough as heck, but he's like one of the first Pokemon you get, correct?
Yeah, I believe the first time you enter a cave, you start seeing them.
Yeah. Those and Diglets. Oh man, Diglets were so annoying. It's like that Pokemon that you never wanted and would always show up. You're trying to catch a Geodude, and there was just a bunch of Diglets, which is basically just this, little stick sticking out of the ground with a big pink nose.
And I remember that there's 3 evolutions of them. The first one is just 1. The second evolution is 2 of them. The third evolution is 3 of them. Wow.
That was like the one that had pineapple heads, right? It was just like one pineapple head, and then it was like multiple, and then it just sprouted into 3 different trees.
I will say,
no, that one was even weird because that one started as eggs.
That's right.
It was a handful of eggs as one Pokemon, and when it evolved, it was a tree. It was a tree.
Was it Executor or something like
Which
that?
I believe, if you read into the lore, they are seeds, not eggs. But we knew they knew what they were drawing.
They were eggs.
Yeah, right.
They try to explain it later on. Some of them, I heard that like some Pokemon just didn't make the cut. And then eventually they just like combined some of them because they were like, this would look cooler if it was like this one. We're just going to make it that evolution. And you're like, well, there's no cohesion between those.
Yep.
You went from one species to another species. Not even evolution does that. Like that never happens.
They couldn't commit to the entire family, but they're like, I really like this one, so we'll just throw it in there, make it the next form of another one that's close enough. Maybe they're the same color. Who knows? Good and close enough.
Like Magikarp and Gyarados.
There you go. I think Magikarp and Gyarados is actually based on some old folklore, some legend, some like actual story of fish going up a waterfall to achieve greatness. That's me totally winging a really bad explanation of that. But
sounds like the story of my life.
And actually, I just remembered I would be ashamed if I did not get to point out my probably the newest favorite on my team, who has now instantly become permanent part of every game I'll play. Let me see if I could share it.
I can guess it.
Who do you think?
Is it Woolo?
Is it Woolo?
Is
Wooloo? The sheep?
Wooloo. There you go, the sheep.
No, it is not the sheep.
Dang it.
I was trying to pull it up here, but let's see if you guys can get a picture of Trubbish is the baby form. Trubbish is the concept of inanimate object Pokemon. At one point, Pokemon decided to make certain things into Pokemon as well. So it wasn't just animals as it started. It started to be more and more inclusive to other things.
I mean, it's literally just a bag of trash.
It is. It is. Now, this is to me. I do it for the meme. It's really the only way. It started as like a way to kind of troll the kids that I would play with, like at my work, where I'd tell them that the bag of trash is my favorite Pokemon. And they could have, and they just have no understanding of why. And then it became one of those situations where you do it ironically until you don't, you know.
That's happened to me in a lot of video games where I do it ironically until I actually am pretty good with this guy. And
Yeah. So the story of the evolutionary line of Trubbish as well, that you have a small little bag of trash with a little goopy arm sticking out of the bag, and when you get him to a powerful enough level, he turns into Garbador.
That's amazing.
Garbador, nice.
Garbador. We'll let Adam look this one up here. Now,
it's just a heap of trash all together, and its fingers and arms are like rebar and stone.
just it's beautiful. You want to hate it and you can't.
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because I want everyone to see this. Internet.
That's exactly the image that I just had up. Look at that mouth.
I think I had nightmares where this came out. I think this should have its own spin-off.
I love him. I love him so much.
The protagonist of a story that is just so out there.
Now, it does get one better. It does get one better.
Oh.
No.
We have not yet filled Adam in on the adventures here of Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
But Gigantamax and Dynamax, they were features brought into the most recent Pokemon games, where you could enhance your Pokemon's power, not just by changing his form or making their stats go a little bit bigger, but they would enhance your Pokemon by making them grow to like a 20-story tall building, basically.
That's scary and terrifying.
Yes. Now, Dynamax is the idea that every Pokemon is capable of it, but they just become a very large version of the same Pokemon. But with a rare like genetic mistake, a few Pokemon can Gigantamax, which means there is an alternate form that they'll take once they grow very large. Some of these are better than others. Some they start to look extreme. Others turn into a giant wedding cake. Yeah, so here we go. We got Wartortle up here.
Giant.
He's just bigger.
Wait, so that's not Squirtle though?
That's Teenage Squirtle. That's Wartortle.
Oh.
Teenage Squirtle, right on.
Yeah.
And then they go into Blastoise, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, you're catching on.
Getting there.
You're gunning for my job, man.
Dude, better keep up, bud.
But Gigantamax Garbodor is probably just the loveliest way you could cap off the story of my favorite bag of trash.
I'm not even going to look it up. I'm going to wait for you to share your screen of this. I'm so excited.
So you take into the idea that the bag of trash evolves and has busted out into a larger pile of trash. And now there is one of these creatures with a genetic mistake that allows them to get into a even crazier form, which
That's
is
a cruise ship.
a mountain of trash that can contain airplanes, skyscrapers, and ocean liners.
I want to point out how big that skeleton of the fish is on the right hand side. If that's that's really
that's pretty true. I also have a question on whether or not it is an actual cruise ship, because it has
there's that little key, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just thinking that.
But also, when he appears, he's taller than the stadium you're in, so you can only make assumptions. But yes, I will never give up on my my trashy boy Garbodor.
Yeah,
Trashy boy.
That is the highlight of my evening now, seeing that picture. I'm gonna have to draw it at some point, but that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Those are 6 great and very entertaining selections. Thank you, Ian.
Of course, I'm excited to hear what anybody else has.
I'm excited too.
I love
Louie,
hearing people's favorites.
what are your 6, Louie?
Just so you know, whenever you're done, I do have 6.
I'm excited to hear them now. I'm really excited.
All right, so my 6 are, let's see, Charizard and Charizard.
I think that was only 5. Do you have another one?
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Charizard.
Oh, gotcha. Sick.
Really?
No,
You're basically scary.
Charizard's the best Pokemon ever. So, I'll if one faints, I have a backup. No, but definitely Charizard is in there. But like
Well, I think you can almost pull that off. We got Charizard, we got Shiny Charizard, we got Mega Charizard X, we got Mega Charizard Y, and we got Gigantamax Charizard, all of which have shiny variants in their own form. So
And then we have Blue Eyes White Dragon.
We'll just throw him in there because I wanted to say attack mode really bad. The Blue Eye White Dragon in attack mode. They're like, what the?
I've got 6 Charizards and a Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're like, what?
Let me take a look at the back of that card. This doesn't work here.
I've actually just taped a Pokemon card together, so like you turn it over, it just says Pokemon on it.
And the holographic ones were like, dude, if you had a holographic Blue Eyes White Dragon,
It's
you would
tight!
I would have that card, but I would crop out Charizard's face on that card. I'd be like, this is my 6.
What was the other one? It was the Red Eyes Black Dragon.
Red Eyes Black Dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
I just never understood it. Why does like Yu-Gi-Oh's voice go deeper? He goes from having like kind of like a wimpy voice, to then all of a sudden he's really
I don't-
cool.
I was gonna say, I don't know if your parents ever explained puberty to you.
It would happen every episode.
so he turns into that the ancient Egyptian god, I think. Whatever he's linked to,
right.
yeah. So he transforms
Yami.
it. Yeah, he transforms into Yami. That's right. Yeah. And so that's
Dude,
right.
you know more about Yu-Gi-Oh than I do. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I know nothing about it, Yu-Gi-Oh. I just loved those cards.
There wasn't much going on at home. I watched cartoons.
Yeah.
No, but Charizard will definitely be my first Pokemon there. Like Ian too, same thing. Like I was the guy that would evolve my Pikachu to a Raichu. I know there was folks out there that would want to keep him as Pikachu, but I thought Raichu was really cool. I remember watching the Lieutenant Surge episode when I first saw Raichu. I was like, oh my god, it's a cooler Pikachu. That's how that's how I saw it. So that would be my second Pokemon. The third one was also Gyarados. I think that there's that grind of like just taking care of Magikarp and finally seeing him evolve. Although you did get lucky, you could catch a Gyarados, but it was quite rare. But when you raised your own Magikarp into a Gyarados, it was definitely a special Pokemon. So then my fourth Pokemon was Alakazam. That was just a Pokemon I thought was really cool. And same thing, I think it was Abra, the first one, Kadabra, and then Alakazam. And it was just, I don't know, it was a unique Pokemon. And I was also filling up my roster with different types. Definitely that had a lot to do with it. Like I wanted to make sure I had a Pokemon for the right, like let's say I was doing, finding a gym member and my Pokemon was completely, like my main Pokemon was completely weak. I would have my backups. Let me see.
Alakazam was always a tough one for me to wind up with after that first wave of Pokemon because his evolution mechanic to get to Alakazam, you have to trade him in order for him to evolve. There's no other way but getting his previous version from somebody else's game. Right. It was the only way you could get an Alakazam is you had to take somebody else's Kadabra and then he would evolve. And after about the first or second game, when the hype around them started to die down, I no longer had anyone who I could trade with. So the amount of powerful Kadabras I've lived with, because I could just never get past that point.
And you're right. I completely forgot about that. I had a friend, my neighbor, and he was also playing Pokemon. That was the only way I was able to get my Alakazam. And just remembering this guy was a pain because he knew a lot of things about the game, but he would always say, "Can't tell you, man. It's a secret." And I never wanted to punch someone.
Really cool Alakazam.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool right there.
This is a Mega Alakazam. This is awesome.
For some reason, I remember that Pokemon so specifically because of the spoons.
Right. The Pokemon holding spoons. He just really liked his soup, man.
And then the
soup is bomb.
The other Pokemon that I had on my roster that was just special to me was Snorlax. Snorlax was special because the first time I saw Snorlax, he was much stronger than you are. Like what the game design, like the way it's taking you in. I don't know by how many levels, but it's much stronger. So catching him was always a treat, right? And then the great thing is that when you are trying to catch him, he would sleep, and that was the moment that you could continue attacking him. And not worry about getting one-shotted by him because your Pokemon are much weaker. And I remember when I first caught him, I was like, oh, good, I have my tank, right? And that's how I would use it. He would be my tank. He had a large health pool, and that was always a Pokemon I had in my roster. And I'm trying to remember a sixth. Like, I think at that point, I did enjoy having Arcanine. Yeah, Growlithe. Yeah, turned into Arcanine. Arcanine is another Pokemon I had there as well in my roster.
I do feel like I'm not doing my due diligence unless I correct you on Mega Alakazam.
Mega Alakazam.
That was not a picture of Mega Alakazam. Mega Alakazam is a lot more zen than that.
Thank you, internet, for leading me astray. I've fallen victim to.
Take a look at Mega
probably.
Alakazam. Take a look at Mega Alakazam, though.
What? So what is he? Now I'm worried. What is he supposed to look like? Because this is a pretty epic looking Alakazam. Is Mega Alakazam the one with the full blown beard? Because I'm seeing another one, and so you're right. He does look all right. Is he wearing like pink or is he wearing brown? Oh, he's wearing pink.
Let me see.
All right. I think this is the one. Let me see if I can get him a little bit bigger. He is pretty.
I believe the pink coat is the shiny variant, but
this one
either
here.
way.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh, now see, this
Whoa.
looks like
Looks
he can teach
pretty
me. He can teach me yoga, and also the meaning of life.
He'll teach you the meaning of life and knock you out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
all
Mega
of these.
Alakazam looks like you will lose the fight and he will not touch you.
Right.
Very true.
Might get hit by
Very
a spoon.
This looks way better. I like the white beard, and I love that it's flowing from the sides. This is an epic looking Alakazam. Thank you for pointing that out, because I would have gone my whole life thinking he just had tattoos. Much better. Anyway.
I said if I'm good for one thing, it's I'm actually in Pokemon. So
that's why you're here, Ian.
Actually.
All right, Lee, was that 6?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, so I had Charizard, Gyarados, Raichu, what else? Alakazam, Snorlax, Arcanine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There we
6.
go. Yeah.
Perfect.
solid
Adam,
team.
let's hear your. I feel like, hold on, I must say, I feel like you're sticking to fire. So you'd have like a fire badge, I feel like.
I would, yeah. I think I would be the fire trainer with my random Gyarados. Just don't judge.
Yeah,
he
with the random
he looks
Gyarados.
cool.
Everyone wants a Gyarados. Dude. It's every child's dream to have a dragon type Pokemon that Gyarados. Adam, let's hear your 6.
So for someone who doesn't play, I have more than 6.
You wouldn't be able to carry more than 6. Some of them would have to stay
They'll walk.
in your.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? So you can only carry 6 Pokemon?
You can only carry 6 Pokemon at a time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm have to make some cuts to my team here.
They don't make belts bigger than that. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just no room. You can't carry a satchel. It's just unfair.
That's just wrong.
I was always wondering why like everyone was such a stickler to the rules in the game. Like you never ran into the one dude who was just no, I'll have more. That's fine.
It's like the unwritten. Well, maybe actually it is a written rule. I think it has to do with the competitive rules of Pokemon. The number is 6. You don't go more than 6.
If you use 7, you turn into a Pokemon.
The Pokemon gods revoke your ability
you
to
use
train.
7, you have to play Digimon.
Yeah. Oh no! I totally forgot about Digimon up until now.
Oh yeah, Octomon.
Oh man! Wow, that's a throwback. Digimon. All right, Adam.
All right.
What are your 6?
So first,
Digimon.
I'm gonna it's just a joke. First I'm gonna have to make a cut immediately because I have 3 options right here. And the only reason I picked them is because of whatever Pokemon movie I watched, right? And it is the 3 legendary birds.
Right.
It's Zapdos, Articuno, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And then Moltres, right? I'm probably gonna say Articuno is gonna be the one that I pick specifically for the memory that I have of them like trudging through the icy tundra and then the bird just like appearing and like flying out of the snow and just being like, whoa, that's crazy. So that's gonna be my first choice because yeah, it was shocking for me. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me, can you even capture legendary Pokemon? Is that a thing you can have? So like I could have an Articuno on my team.
You have to have like an Ultra Ball or something like that, right?
This is your dream team, Adam. It can happen.
You can have whatever you want.
They're all Ultra Balls, all of them. I'm gonna say number 2 is just because I've seen it so much in Pokemon Go, and that's an Eevee. Is that how you pronounce it? Eevee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have seen them so many times, and for some reason, everybody I know has always been like, "Dude, do you have an EV you can trade with me or something?" Or like, "I need to go find one." I just remember all my buddies talking about trying to find an EV, and I was just like, "Okay, right on."
That's my son
You
right
have
there.
to have more than one EV. You have to have a handful of EVs so you can evolve them to each of the different types that it can be.
So
Become.
is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. EV
Ah.
evolves into 8. I believe it's 8 different variants. So
Oh,
Yeah,
And they're
Yeah.
all epic.
yeah.
they're
Every
all pretty rad.
one of them.
Noah's
Like you can
6.
literally have all 6 be EV evolutions.
Yeah, my son and Noah, his 6 are all evolutions. They're all different EVs.
Nice.
Evolutions. I like that.
Evolutions, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, one of them is one of my favorites that I completely left out. That is unfortunate.
let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Umbreon.
Never heard of
Is
it.
that the dark one?
Umbreon. That is the dark type from Gen
Oh
2.
yeah, this looks like a
Umbreon's one of
totally
my favorites.
Egyptian, like looking. This thing was buried with the pharaoh, and when he comes back to life as like a zombie pharaoh, this Pokemon comes out, the Umbreon.
Oh, that thing looks sick.
Right? That's such a sick Pokemon.
That looks rad. Okay, number 3. Louie is actually the one who reminded me of what this one is. I looked up a different Pokemon, and that's what I thought it was. I was like, I must have just had the wrong Pokemon in my mind, but it's the Arcanon or Arcanon. I love that one. I think it just looks sick. I had Googled lion Pokemon, and something else came up, and that would be a Entei.
and I was gonna say because there is actually a lion Pokemon as well, Pyroar.
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute.
Let's look that up. Pyroar.
That one's sick too.
Oh, and I just put Pi, and it shows. Oh wow, I've never seen this.
There's
I
Pokemon for
definitely
everybody.
have. I definitely
Dude, this
have
is
seen
like
one.
if Simba was like possessed by the Phoenix Force, it would be this Pokemon. Wow, this is such a beautiful Pokemon. It's so regal.
Display it. Display it.
I'm looking for the most regal. Like this literally looks like it was just a combo from Lion King. Check this out. Ready to have your mind blown? Boom.
Ooh.
Dude, that's the image. I've seen that image.
Oh yeah, that's Super Saiyan Simba.
Super Saiyan Simba.
Super
Love
Saiyan,
it.
Super Saiyan God Simba.
And this one's like true to the animal it's based off of too, because there's a male and a female Pyroar.
Okay, see,
And
that's what I
only
saw.
only the male Pyroar has the big fire mane. The female just has like a fire ponytail.
It's like a mohawk type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the male is a lot rarer, so you will mostly find females in the wild.
Oh, and this
Yeah,
one has
I've
the
got a
cute
little thing up
baby.
right here. Do you just know that off the top of your head, or did you Google it?
Oh, I know it.
Oh, right on. I have a thing up here. It's the gender ratio is
Oh, that's
How cute.
87.5% female and 12.5% male.
Wow.
Yep,
Good job, Adam.
they're pretty recent into Pokemon Go, and I still have not found a male.
Wow.
Interesting. I feel like I need to download Pokemon Go now. Like, I need to get it again. All right. I got 2 more. One is generic, and that's Mewtwo, because you know, from my childhood, that's the main villain of the one movie that I saw, and I think he's the main villain. Am I thinking of 2 different movies? Was
You
Mewtwo?
are thinking of 2 different movies.
Then there you go.
Articuno busting out of the icy tundra was Pokemon 2000. Pokemon the movie 2000. It was the second movie. And
Okay.
Mewtwo is the first movie.
So I've
Yeah.
seen both of those then.
Yeah.
And he comes out in another one too as a bad guy. It's a more recent one. It was kind of like a 3D animated one on Netflix.
It's a
Is it-
almost a shot for shot remake of the first one.
Oh, that's what it was.
Just in like CG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't Detective Pikachu.
It was
Detective
not,
Pikachu.
but he does come out in Detective Pikachu.
I did see that.
But he's only like a puppet. You know, he's a bad guy because he's being puppeted by that one dude.
Spoiler alert, bro.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Yes, spoiler alerts for anybody. Sorry if you've seen it already. It's too late.
I'm just kidding. And then finally, I don't know if this is gonna be a you guys agree thing, or you guys are gonna, you know, ostracize me, but Meowth.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
I love that cat, dude. It talks. Can they understand him?
Some can. Some
Yes,
actually Pokemon develop that language, right?
I think it's rarer. I think the idea is that most Pokemon can understand you, and weirdly, a lot of the times people understand Pokemon.
Yeah.
Even without needing them to speak English. Meowth spoke English, if I remember correctly, because he had to learn it on the streets in order to survive, because his owner, his trainer abandoned him in like in an alley or something like that, and he had to learn to speak English to like panhandle. And then he started he hooked up with Team Rocket as a way to like survive. There's an episode based around that. I could be remembering it wrong, but I think that's what it was. And it was kind of their way to explain it away.
He grew up in the streets of Boston because he's got a kind of was that the episode
unique accent going on
where he was learning the seashells by the seashore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that the one? I think I'm remembering it now.
Wow. Leave it to the Japanese to leave like a totally like really depressing backstory on such a cute little Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
because there was a female Meowth that he was like trying to impress, and she like thought it was lame that he spoke English and like doesn't win her heart.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it was. The female Meowth was super rich, if I remember correctly. I think she was, and he kept trying to impress her, and he thought that speaking English would make him seem rich, I guess.
And it doesn't. Interesting.
The hits just keep on coming. Dang, Meowth. I sympathize, dude. Meowth right here. Right here. Good pick, Adam.
That is a solid pick.
Thank you so much. I like
and
his
if you ever evolve a Meowth, like Persian is a pretty classy sidekick. So
now, theory, this can be debatable. If a talking Meowth evolves into a Persian, will it talk?
I was just thinking that.
Will it be a talking Persian? Or because sometimes with evolutions, their personality changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, theoretically, Charmander was super cute, super sweet, Char, right? And then it turns into Charmeleon, and it's a total like
the teenage stage.
Jerk, right?
I was gonna say, I can give you in-universe reason for that.
Yeah, thank you. That's gonna come. Tell me.
Ash had only acquired a certain number of Pokemon badges at that point, and in the games and in the universe, a Pokemon badge, as the more you get, the higher level Pokemon will obey you.
Oh.
And so he had power boosted his Charmander to the point where it was able to evolve, but Charmander or Charmeleon was less likely to obey him because he didn't have as many badges. And then as he kind of progressed, it evolved into Charizard, and he definitely was not able to control it at that point because he was not considered at a high enough like player level. Basically, he hadn't. So there is an in-universe explanation for Charizard's attitude.
Yeah, and Ash's Pokedex was very different than everyone else's because it told him these things. It told him anything he had questions for. The Pokedex answered.
Is that not a thing?
No, I mean,
that was
the Pokedex does give you information on your Pokemon, like in the game. But I was just joking because on the TV show, it gave him information about everything Pokemon.
Oh, gotcha.
Like
that was one thing. In the games, if you see a Pokemon, like if you battle it but you don't catch it, it just shows you the picture and it won't give you any information about that Pokemon. But in the cartoon, all he had to do was see it across a field, and it was like, here's its name, birthday, place of origin, social security number. It just gave you everything.
Because I think it was the Pokedex that told Ash that Charmeleon wasn't listening because he didn't have the badges.
Yeah, that's right. Totally forgot. It tells you their relational status.
Right.
Yeah.
I've also always loved the idea of the Pokedex being that the professor gives it to you saying, I need you to fill this out for me. Go out there, find every Pokemon and get all this information for me.
And it just has all the info already.
It already has it all on there already.
What a jerk.
Like, you did this work. Why am I doing it again for you?
That's funny.
It builds character, boy.
Very true. That's very interesting. See, I would have never known unless I went back and rewatched it. All right, let's see. My dream team. I'll go through them quick because we got a lot more to go through. Eternatus is dude. When you saw it, did you not like think what that thing?
It looked like a claw machine, but other than that,
I thought it was epic. It's just like I want to ride that thing. You know, if I was a Pokemon trainer, that would be my main. You know, I got invited
to transportation.
Got invited to a birthday party, and I'm riding my Eternatus there. Like, oh, everybody just showed up. Yeah, on this enormous flame dragon of energy. Like, it's just intimidating.
I can see
and
that.
then, of course, Blastoise, being my water type, just because he's a beautiful hunk of Pokemon.
This thing is sick.
Right? Did you look up the Eternatus?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine me going to your birthday party riding that thing.
anywhere would be this sick.
Yeah, going to the grocery store, smart and final.
I jumped immediately to that the Gigantamax form that you run into the second time around, you know, when it's literally just a giant cloud in the sky with a claw coming out of it. And I was like, yeah, no, I felt like Woody and Buzz getting pulled out of Pizza Planet, but I didn't think
At least it would be on my side. That's my
fair.
thing.
That's fair.
That's why I love it. Blastoise. Squirtle was always my all-time favorite. So I made it a point to always have a Squirtle and evolve them to Blastoise. Mewtwo, of course, because Mewtwo's epic. And then I put, I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it Ludicolo or
Ludicolo? Yeah,
Ludicolo. Thank you. I picked him for a strategic reason, also because I feel like he represents my culture. He's wearing a mariachi hat. So I always name him Tapatio. And he's also a grass type and a water type. So I was like, this guy needs to be on my team because he can do that mega drain where he like absorbs their health and then refills him. I begin every battle with Ludicolo generally because unless it's a fire, well, even if it's a fire type, you have an advantage with your water moves. You know, you can do water gun, or if it's another type of Pokemon, if it's a water type Pokemon, you use Mega Drain and it's super effective. So it's super effective against most Pokemon. And then Zapdos, because Zapdos is just super cool, right?
Oh yeah.
On the days that Eternatus needed a break, I would be riding Zapdos, hoping that I wouldn't get electrocuted. I'd be wearing the rubber armor from Breath of the Wild. And,
we're crossing all of our games now.
Yes, and the Thunder Helm too, because that's just epic too.
Zapdos is a good Pokemon because if I remember correctly, the flying type are weak against electricity, right? Electric, and so with Zapdos, you yeah, I think so. Yeah, like if I remember just blasting these birds with Pikachu, and it was always super effective. But I think Zapdos, yeah, you would no longer have that issue.
Is it that, or is it the other way around? I'm not sure if it's flying type have a. Oh, I think you're right. I think it might be that.
They have weaknesses to electric type, ice type, and rock type, I think.
But they have the advantage on grass type, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. See,
grass, bug, and fighting? Fighting or no? Yeah, fighting.
And electric type, do they have the advantage on grass type, or is it? Yeah, I think so, right? Electric have an advantage against grass.
I don't remember.
No, I think it was the other way around for that one.
Maybe, yeah. So Zapdos, because it's like killing two birds with one stone. Terrible.
No pun intended.
Talking about Zapdos, but yes. And then last was Mega Gengar, because I think
Cable Wonders.
Dude, people underestimate the power of Gengar. Like they just think he's like a, I thought he was always really cool looking. I didn't think he was so like terrifying. But then you see Mega Gengar. I don't know if you guys know what he looks like, but I'm going to show you what Mega Gengar looks like because he is.
Gengar looks like he's naughty, and then Mega Gengar is scary.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what I think. I like this Pokemon Go background here. When you see this, you're like, okay, now I see the appeal. I always liked Gengar, but then seeing this, it changed my whole perspective on it. This is a thing of nightmares.
That looks terrifying.
Right?
When you initially said it, I jumped actually to Gigantamax Gengar.
Yes, of course. That's even
so in my head it was completely different.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes, I do love Mega Gengar as well.
Let's look at that. I want to see that. Oh, and there it is. Gigantamax Mega Gengar. Oh my gosh. This looks even better this way. I'm gonna have to decide which one I want to pick. I like this one here. This is absolutely great. Everyone, feast your eyes.
There he is. The Cave of Wonders himself.
For real.
That's so intense.
Yeah.
Infidel.
Oh my gosh.
That's great. Yes. Gigantamax Mega Gengar. That's awesome. So that's my dream team. Those are my 6. I just feel like they'd be lethal because most of them have an advantage over at least every type. of Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
Which is important to have. Now, which Pokemon did you guys start with? Quick answer on Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Pokemon Sword and Shield. I had was it Grookey, right?
The monkey.
The monkey, the grass monkey, yeah.
The grass monkey. That's funny because that's what Noah named him.
Yeah.
He's his son. He named him Grass Monkey.
Grass monkey.
Yeah.
I did the math the other day and realized that I mean I've played a bunch of these games multiple times, so I've picked different starters. The first time I've played every single Pokemon game, I've picked the grass starter.
Interesting.
Every single time.
It
Not
was
on
the water
purpose.
Pokemon. I picked them. I picked the water Pokemon every single game. Actually, Mudkip almost made my list of the six. What did he turn into at the end? A Swampert?
Swampert, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that Pokemon was epic. So he would be kind of my sub in for some of the other Pokemon. But yeah, I picked Sobble. What about you, Louis?
Score Bunny.
Score Bunny. Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
We got all three. Adam's like, I have no idea what you're
I can just pick a name from the things that you just said. So the grass monkey one. I like that.
Grass Monkey.
Yep, that one.
I do like. I wish that was his name, Grass Monkey.
Grass monkey.
What's it? Oh.
Do you like that it
Grass
turns-
monkey. Boop.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought of the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
All right. So, which was your most exciting catch? Like, what catch were you most excited about in the game? Like when you caught it,
Of all
you worked
time?
so hard to catch it, and no, on Pokemon Sword and Shield. I mean, if you can remember the one of all time where you were, I was most excited when I caught this Pokemon. But I'd say for me, it's going to be really silly, but Growlithe.
There
It
you
was
go.
a level 17 Growlithe. I mean, who doesn't want a Tiger Wolf? I did. And
Pretty
it almost
sick.
cost me. I went through 5 Pokemon to catch this one. I had to revive another one, and I used almost every Pokeball that I had to finally catch my Growlithe, and it became like my powerhouse. I got
There you
through
go.
most gyms with my Growlithe at the end using a Flame Wheel. So that was mine. What about you guys?
I'm trying to. I gotta take a minute to think about that one. What's probably for me, it was one of the 2 shinies that I ended up catching. Which for those uninformed, shinies are a variant in color for the Pokemon. Every Pokemon has a version that is slightly different in its color palette, and a heck of a lot rarer to run into. Very, very hard to run into. It was. I think the one I was hunting at the time was Stuffle. And Stuffle is a cute little pink and brown, like stuffed animal looking Tanuki raccoon thing, and he evolves into a pretty rad little Pokemon called Beware, which is like, I think in his definition says he can hug you to death. But running into the shiny, it was after hours and hours and hours of just cycling in and out of routes and chaining that Pokemon over and over and over, like hitting the encounter, then having to kill it and get out and kill it and get out, and just circling it over and over, and that endless grind to try and finally run into one that would been a weeks long search until finally you just see a little bit of orange instead of pink pop up, and that little sparkle of glitter pop up above
It
him.
gets that heart. You get your heart pumping,
No,
right?
you feel like you won the lottery. Like, I would rather get a shiny Stuffle than win $5 million at that point. It is a better feeling. It's a better dopamine hit for me.
Yes.
You know?
There you go.
And you had to work for it too.
And you had
Yeah.
to work
Incredibly
hard for it.
You got
The
to
only
beat it
thing
up,
is-
or you can't kill it.
Once it shows up, that's not a guarantee. You can still kill it. It can still run away. So it no longer becomes like the endless chore. Suddenly it's like it's game on, and you are in the most intense version of Pokemon catching you could possibly be in. Because unlike other things, like I could say that catching some of the legendaries might have been a little hard, but you can always save right before you encounter them and then just retry if you mess it up. The shinies are completely a random encounter, so that you're one and done. That's all you get. You know, you're starting from the beginning if you mess this up.
That's
That was probably the
aggravating.
most intense. Yeah.
That is very much so. What about you, Louis? What was your most exciting catch?
Exciting. I saw a Pikachu, like, so I was running into this one zone where there was like these people dressed as Pikachu and Eevee, and I thought they were actual Pokemon, and then I realized it was just some twerps. But anyways, so I'm just kind of grinding that area there because I knew there was a gym coming up. I just wanted to boost up some of the Pokemon, especially the fresh ones I just caught. And then I noticed that there was another like I thought it was a trainer, right, wearing a Pikachu costume. But this one like was moving different. The physics were different. I was like, oh my god, I think I finally found one. And so I go, and then yes, you go into the sequence where the Pokemon comes out and it's a wild Pikachu appears. I remember reading that, right? And I'm such a nerd. I scream in, oh, Noah, come here, come in, come in. I'm the kid, right? Come in, Noah, look, it's a Pikachu. It's like, Dad, they're rare. How'd you find one? Right? And so that was definitely the most exciting catch. And yeah, I took my time. Oh my god, I took my time. And just like Ian said, like I was focusing in on the when you're catching the catching sequence and make sure that the little sparks come out and then you caught them, right? But I wanted to share this though. The most stressful Pokemon that I tried catching was Haunter. And so this is Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar, right? So Haunter was stressful because he would use Curse on himself, and I believe Curse is that move where it self-sacrifices, so it hits it, takes damage, and then it faints. Like when, like let's say you're trying to get it, because every time you catch a Pokemon, you want to get it to like at least a third of health, right? Before you start throwing Pokeballs at it. And so when I would do that, then Haunter would kill himself, or defeat himself, and I'm like, oh my god! And then I would try again, and I think it was like I went through 3 Haunters before I actually caught one. I almost threw my Switch a couple times.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't. But I didn't know that Pikachu were so rare until after I had caught one. And your son Noah, he would spend hours in that one area hoping to find a Pikachu. I'm like, oh bro, I didn't realize they were so rare. Like I literally walked into that little like fenced area. I walked in, and as I was walking out, a Pikachu followed me out of that little entryway.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, oh, a Pikachu. So I turned around and I went into combat with it. I caught it like first try.
Some people are just born lucky.
That was in real life. No, in that one instant, yes. I was like, what? And then to find out there's like a 5% chance or like a 1% chance of running into a Pikachu and Shield. Yeah, right?
And see, and in my run, I had no Eevee catches because that's the same zone where you find Eevees.
Neither did I.
And then Noah was able to get 6 of them.
I've yet to come in contact with an Eevee. Weird. But all right, so I wanted to jump in to overall the game Pokemon Shield, because we've been on Pokemon for almost 2 hours now. I know, right?
A lot of content. Fast. Love it.
A lot of content. Okay, what did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? And were you satisfied with this console release, or did it leave you wanting? I think that the expectations are different because it is a console game. It's not exclusively handheld, and you feel like because there aren't the limitations in the software and the hardware of it being a handheld product, the expectations naturally rise. So based on what your expectations were for a console version of a Game Freak Pokemon game, what did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy, or what didn't you like that you would maybe possibly change? And were you satisfied overall with the Pokemon Shield being the first big console Pokemon game? I'm going to go to our professional or our expert Ian on this one.
I honestly think that there isn't a perfect Pokemon game. Even in the future, there's never going to be a perfect Pokemon game. So I think there's always going to be something that's going to be leaving you a little wanting, especially when you spent so much of your life imagining what it could be. Yeah. I mean, like, think about like the first time you're introduced to a new series, and like in any form, a movie or a game or anything, you're never worried about its potential. You're only worried about how cool it was, how cool the first thing you got to experience was. And after you've lived with something for so long, you start to build up your own relationship with it, and then you create the ideas of and the potential of where it could go, and you will always be giving your hopes up and letting yourself down when whatever they put out doesn't meet those expectations. As far as the first Pokemon game on Switch for me, or the Let's Go game and then the Sword and Shield games, the Let's Go games hit on Switch, and they were pretty. There was 3D graphics. Pokemon roamed in the open world, things that I had wanted. I could play it on my TV. It looked really nice, all blown up. But it definitely didn't feel like a AAA game. Like after getting the Switch and playing Breath of the Wild and playing Super Mario Odyssey and feeling like these franchises were taking the step with the hardware itself. It definitely felt like Pokemon had catching up to do. And I was hoping that maybe Sword and Shield would be that next step. And you kind of have to remind yourself that while handheld generations have moved forward one at a time, they've only had incremental increases in power and capability, and Pokemon has always kind of crawled along with that. I don't think Pokemon's ever really made a giant generational leap. It's always been kind of minuscule, you know, piece by piece, getting a little better at every point along the way. The thing is, I could point out over the last 20 years things that have been revealed about new Pokemon games that I was not a fan of in the 3-minute trailer they show you, you know, or in the pictures in Game Informer you see. I could find things to complain about. Sword and Shield, to me, I remember after seeing the first kind of breakdown of the game and some of the trailers for the game and deciding, you know what, I'm out. I don't want to have to, this isn't for me. They've definitely babied it down. It's a kid's game again. And then just like every time, you know, you drop the money, you pop it in, 20, 30, 40 hours later, they have me and it's everything I wanted, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of just have to put my faith in the Pokemon Company and Game Freak to be like, you're going to put out something that I'm probably going to be pretty cool with, and you're going to give me the similar feelings, and it's going to hit on a nostalgia point, and there's going to be new systems that I can explore that are, but they're never going to be that huge next generational leap, and you kind of just have to be okay with that. Like it while they do give you more to play with, it is a formula that isn't broken, so don't fix it, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Adam, I'm interested to hear, after hearing all that you've heard so far, what are your thoughts? Does it convince you does it sell you on the game? Are you more interested in it than you were before? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
You know what? Absolutely. Especially seeing all three of you just get so stoked on hearing the game, on talking about the new games coming out, on talking about, you know, just trading the Pokemon, and watching you guys walk down memory lane, and then seeing how that still relates to today. It's like, I want that memory lane stuff too. Like that sounds really cool. And like Ian said, is that like, it's never gonna be perfect because you're so attached. You know what I mean? And it's like a good example is like Harry Potter, right? The diehard Harry Potter heads who read all the books were never happy with the movies because they weren't the books. They didn't get that same thing that the books gave them, but at least it's something. You know what I mean? And I think all the three of you guys have, you know, such intense relationships to the franchise that you're always going to have something to gripe about, but at the same time, you have content, you have something there, you know what I mean? So you're not quite satisfied, but it's just there enough to keep you hooked and keep you wanting more. And I think it's interesting. What I think is going to happen is you guys are going to, you know, age more, and you guys are going to progress along with the story, progress along with the games that come out, and you're going to look back and be like, dang, that Sword and Shield was pretty dang good. You know what I mean? Because then the new games aren't going to have the same things that Sword and Shield had, just like how Sword and Shield doesn't have the same things that Ruby, Emerald, and the other one had. And then just like how that one doesn't have the stuff that the original had. They have the same concepts, but different things are there. As far as my relationship to it, I want to start playing this. You know, I'm tempted to go get a Switch tomorrow and buy Sword and Shield just so I can understand, you know, what you guys are talking about and understand the relationship that you guys have to this video game. You know,
experience Dynamax Pokemon for yourself.
Dude, that sounds sick. I cannot get the Dynamax Gengar stuck out of my head. You know what I mean? It's just there, just the menacing look. I'm like, that sounds terrible. Like, I imagine you guys, when you first saw it and you didn't know anything about it, and your first encounter was just like, what am I looking at? You know? I could just picture you guys doing it, and
oh yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's like when you open up Sword and Shield for the first time, it slaps you in the face with Dynamax, and it's a Charizard, and you're like, whoa, dude! Like, I was already intimidated by Charizard. Like, that's like a Pokemon you always kind of have to look over your shoulder with. Like, are you gonna roast me one day and eat me? Like, I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that you have enough faith in me as you did with Ash, right?
Yeah.
And then you see that Dynamax Charizard from the get-go, and you're just like, what? I'm gonna love this game.
Yeah.
Like, I am genuinely going to love this game, which is for me that's what I loved about Shield, is that just when you thought Pokemon couldn't get any cooler, it brought a whole new, something you just never thought of. Like, who would have ever thought of energizing and roiding up Pokemon to like a next level, where they're just enormous and they look different. Like, some of them take on different features. Some of them are not just like larger versions of them. Some look like intense and crazy, and they take on different form and just more powerful. Another thing that I really liked was raids. Like, we've, as a gaming community, we've become more, we desire that, to connect with other people and to join together and battle a common enemy. So something that I loved about this game was those like Dynamax rays that were sticking out of the ground, and you go in there and you can raid a Dynamax Pokemon. So it'd be like this enormous Pokemon, and you and a couple of other trainers are going at it together, and it's like, that's sick. You know what I mean? That's the kind of things that before you would only see in the cartoons. You see, Brock and Ash being like, let's go at it together. We all throw our Pokemon out and battle the common enemy. But in the games previous to that, it was just you always battling the one other person, or sometimes two. To all four of us be going after one enormous Pokemon was just like the coolest thing. It was a way to bring in kind of the idea of raids and dungeons into a Pokemon game, which had not, or at least I don't know of it ever have been done before. And I think that made this game innovative and exciting again. Something that I didn't like was how much it held your hand in the beginning. I felt like that tutorial was way too long. I would like, I was kind of annoyed by the friend. What was his Hop?
Hop.
I hated Hop. And it wasn't his fault. I think it was the game's. Like, literally, you couldn't take 5 steps. You couldn't take 5 steps without Hop being like, aren't you just excited about Pokemon? My brother is awesome. I want to be the best. And then you'd like wreck him every time. And he'd be just so positive. But it's like, dude, let me breathe. You are like the most like constricting, and you're like ruining my life, dude. I can't enjoy this game without running into you and seeing your face, and you like having me to button mash so that I can just get out of this interaction. You're the friend I never wanted, Hop. Leave me alone.
Rip Hop.
Yeah.
Can you just say one mean thing towards me, please?
Yeah. So I that's the thing. I liked Gary. Gary would talk trash, and you feel good about like just destroying him.
Right.
Like Hop, I wanted to almost lose on purpose to be like, Hop, you're gonna get there one day, buddy.
You did get it there, pal.
Yeah, because
you keep trying.
But every time, him and his stupid Wooloo, like I would just one shot him every time. And that was another thing I didn't like. I felt like the when you're a fire Pokemon going against a grass Pokemon, I mean, you easily one shot them and they're done. I felt like that was too easy. The advantages are just so huge that
how quickly they throw an experience share at you, which allows you to power up your entire team while only ever using one. So instead of having one powerhouse that if they go down, you then have to scramble with 5 weaker dudes you didn't spend as much time on. Yeah. Everyone, like the whole, you're playing with 6 MVPs the entire game. And it definitely shortens that difficulty curve a lot and made it a little too easy. As far as the whole like the stuff with Hop and the tutorial things, I think it's part of the contract now of playing a Pokemon game that adult gamers just have to concede to, is because Pokemon was designed as a children's game, and they have said that the mission statement is it will forever be a children's game. So the way as long as you think about it as the fact that you're playing a game in a franchise that will definitely be somebody's first Pokemon game, that stuff's always going to need to be there.
Yes. Yeah. Adam, you'll appreciate that. You'll like Hop a lot more than I did. But
I was literally just thinking the same thing, because I was like, you're an experienced Pokemon player. I would probably be like, yeah, let's go, Hop. And you're like, Hop, get out of my face.
Like, shut up, Hop. But I would have liked I think I would like. It did not take anything away from me enjoying the game at all. I wouldn't say Pokemon Shield is a bad game because of that. It's still, I had tons of fun playing it. I had a hard time putting it down, and I loved it. If I'm being picky, I'd say that it annoyed me, but not enough for me to want to stop playing the game. But I do want to say that I wish that they have an option. Like, have you previously played a Pokemon game before? And then it will like cut your tutorial time in half, and then, or like, are you new to Pokemon? And then you pick yes. And, if I'm being picky, I would like that, just so that, the hand holding can kind of go down and only kind of tell you things that are just important to like, or new to the game. But again, that's only if I'm being picky. I still love the game and recommend it highly to anybody who is new to the franchise or is, the flame of their love for Pokemon is dwindling. Play Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it'll burn that fire.
There you go.
What about you, Louie? What would you love? What would you hate? What would you change?
So going in, I mean, I expected, it's the same path, right? Like the same thing. Like when you play a Dragon Ball Z game, it's the same Dragon Ball story. The story is awesome, and so you'll have games or variations, and it tweaks to the story, or maybe a revisit through a different path. And I was expecting that with Pokemon. The only thing that changes really is it's the Pokemon, right? You'll have a different region, and so you'll get different spawns of Pokemon. Sometimes you get overlaps of the previous generations, but so I'm also a big visual nerd. I love good graphics. I love good artwork, and I would say Pokemon Shield definitely had that. They had really beautiful zones, beautiful structures. I was definitely amazed by that and enjoyed the different atmospheres, the different biomes. Another thing that I really liked, and this was my first time. I don't know if previous games had this, but the wild areas was interesting because it went from a fixed camera to a rotating camera, a 3D Pokemon game, and I think that might be the future. Like I know further along we'll talk about the new trailer we saw, but
Arceus.
But just having that ability of just being to hang around there, look around, seeing Pokemon walk around, like especially in their respective size, you watch a huge Pokemon, you're walking towards it, and you can actually interact with it. Was quite fun. Another thing I really enjoyed was connecting online, and so in the wild areas you'll see different Pokemon trainers running around. Can't really do much with them, but I thought, hey, this is a hell of a start. This was really cool to be able to see other players doing their thing as Pokemon trainers. Right now, with all that, like the visuals, there also comes gameplay, right? And gameplay is also very important on my list. I did enjoy that the gyms had you do some type of mini game before you got to the gym leader. That was quite fun.
That's right.
I did enjoy that. It was just different. I'm always open to something different, something new ideas, right? But I would say at the same time, and it could be just me being biased to growing up with Pokemon, I felt like there was something lacking. When Ian mentioned the group shared XP, maybe it's that. Because I was thinking there's something missing. I don't know if I felt overpowered, like the game was too easy. And it might be that, because I remember what happened when you couldn't train all your Pokemon with one battle. You had to swap them out. You had to revisit areas. It added replay value. It gave you more content. I know a lot of people hate grinding, but honestly, like if the game's fun, the grinding, as long as it's not too extreme, will give you more pleasure out of it. And then the same thing, more reward. You trained those Pokemon. You got them strong enough. So like Ian said, you won't have 6 MVP. You had 1, but if you trained all of them, you had strong Pokemon.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I totally like being overpowered. That's something that I love about easy mode in games, is like all the Mass Effect trilogy I played on easy, and I'm not ashamed because
I didn't even complete them, bro.
Yeah, no, I did, but it had to be on easy mode, because if I did anything but, I would be frustrated and put it down. I love that it gives me the power to progress in my story, because ultimately that's what I want to do. I just want to complete it. So in a way, I can see why they do that. Especially younger audiences, like they have even less patience than I do. So, I mean, it makes sense. And that's just, I think, again, taking Ian, what he said about it is ultimately for kids, and that's what kind of the market that they're going for.
Well, I will comment on something real quick, because I saw my son play through it. He's 12. Maybe I was a little bit younger than he was when I first played, but I had to push him through the tutorial, he was getting quite annoyed with it because I even explained to him. He didn't know it was a tutorial. This seems like the tutorial part. You just kind of got to stick through it, and then the game will open up, right? But even he felt like it was. He didn't really tell me what it was, but he just said, I don't know. He says it just feels like I'm not too interested in it, or he was just, it was too easy, right? And it's like they're just teaching you how to play the game. Just hang tight. And then once he got past that, he started enjoying the game. So even as a kid, maybe the tutorial was too hands-on or too long.
Very wordy for sure. Like if you don't care to read the subtext, like man, it's
I absolutely do not.
Yeah, you're gonna be button mashing a lot.
You're done for then, man. You don't know how to play, and you're not willing to read to find out. It's the Wild West out there for you, man.
I'll figure it out trial by error, you know.
Or who
you
knows,
really don't need a tutorial. Though. I mean, the game it's on rails. You know what I mean? Like you really have only one destination, and you're gonna get there eventually. You can't get lost in the game. So it's super easy and enjoyable. It's just a matter of getting past that annoying.
You just made me think of something that's sort of off topic, but not really off topic. Have you guys ever played the Fallout series?
Yes.
Yeah. So
we're gonna talk about that.
Oh, really?
No,
okay.
Go for it.
So I was gonna say, because you said that this game is on rails, and normally I don't really like those kinds of games, you know, especially like, you know, what is that, linear games? And like I understand that like the game is relatively linear, but you still have open world aspects to it.
Yes.
But for some reason, that just made me think of I played Fallout New Vegas. Have you guys all played Fallout New Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay,
Every
so
Fallout game.
the idea of the game is that they want you to go from, what is it, Good Springs, and they want you to go down and around up through, you know, the other side of everything, and then to get to everything. I have played through the game many times, and for some reason, I was just like, you know, I don't want to do that this time. I want to go from Good Springs to the Lucky 38, just go right across. And so I brute forced my way through it, and as a level 1, ran past a bunch of like death claws and the guys who like blow you up, and then other people, and they were making it hard for me to go that way, but I was like, I'm going this way, man. And you know, eventually I did it. But it's just funny because, you know, the game doesn't really allow you like Pokemon doesn't really allow you to do things you're not supposed to do yet, because they'll just destroy you otherwise. But with games like Fallout and other games that I like, open world games, it's difficult to do it, but it's possible to get from Good Springs, the tutorial, all the way to the Lucky 38 at level 1. And I did it. It's just a little reminded me of that. It's funny that the games are fundamentally different, you know?
Absolutely. And it's like Breath of the Wild. If you want, you can go to Calamity Ganon almost right away, but you will not succeed unless
you will have a bad time.
A professional. And that's just something amazing about the game. The freedom. You are the gatekeeper of your own destiny.
Exactly.
You know? The Pokemon, you know, Pokemon Sword and Shield give you that freedom in the wild areas, which is really cool. The point of Lisa's mentioning that the point of view changes. You can go wherever you want in that area and spend as much time as you want in that area. And that's what's really cool about it. And I think they're going to be, just from watching the trailer of Pokemon Arceus, it looks like they're going to be moving into that direction, kind of that more free roaming, the open world, and really having that, you know, you can go where you want to go and where, and even the way you interact with Pokemon in the wild is going to be different. It's not going to be just touching them and going into the battle sequence, but it looks like you can actually like, throw a Pokeball at it from just seeing it off in the distance, which is, you know, something we're going to talk about later on. But I think that, you know, it's definitely worth giving it a try, Adam, and anybody out there. If you haven't played Pokemon Sword and Shield, you have us three recommending it to you. We all spent hours and hours and hours of our life loving this game, grinding through it, and really enjoying all of the gym battles. Specifically for me, the water gym was the best. I just loved that maze of figuring out. It took me forever. I don't know if it took you guys that long, but I'm like, dude, which button do I have to press to make that one waterfall in the middle turn off so that I can walk through it and get through the 3 waterfalls? But all the gyms were like mini games in of themselves that were really awesome.
And even the battle with the gym leader, even though it's repetitive, like you know what to expect. I don't know. For me personally, like there was always, especially when that moment when you Dynamax your Pokemon and the crowd's cheering and then the music comes on to pump you up. I felt badass every time. Like that never got old for me. And then so I was running with Pikachu, right? And so Pikachu is like the only Pokemon, and I think Eevee that ones that actually say their name and it's not a sound chime. And so Pikachu, the Pika-Pee, right? But then when he turns into the big Pikachu, he's like Pikachu, and I'm like, yes, perfect. And then when he does Pika.
They need to do better. They need to invest the money into doing like some more voices in there.
Yeah,
I think it'll really heighten the game's quality. We just want to hear them say their names. That's good. Awesome. Well, I think that we give a Pokemon a 10 out of 10. Great game. Never get old. I'm looking forward to the next one. Now, gentlemen, it is time to switch focus. I was waiting to do that. I get so excited to get to do that. I don't know why. But I think it's because I'm the Fonz, and the Fonz would go, hey.
There you go.
I just adapted into my personality. We're switching focus to the most recent news. And one of the most exciting things, and the reason we invited Adam on, was that Apex Legends has just been released on the Switch.
Oh, and yeah. More people
like,
for me to just completely destroy.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of unsuspecting children who will download this game because it looks epic and it's free. They're going to go on there and just get wrecked.
That's the idea.
Many days since it's been on there, to the point I'm like, I'm going to kill somebody. Eventually I will. I'm just following whoever's in charge. Like, I'm just going to stick with you because you look like you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Right? I love that game.
That's great. Well, let me give some information to anybody who doesn't know about it. It's a free-to-play online battle royale developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by EA. Came out in February of 2019, and now it is available on the Switch as of March this year. So, Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about the story in Apex Legends? Because if anybody's coming in now, they're going to be in, Season 8?
I believe Season 8's the one that just came out.
Tell us about that. How do those seasons work?
Yeah, okay, so the game is based in the same universe that Titanfall takes place in. So if you've played Titanfall, it is in the same universe, and a lot of the things that they reference are references to the Titanfall universe.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's in the same universe, and it's a lot. They actually have a lot of the same things. So like in Titanfall, there's a weapon called a Volt, and it's an energy weapon. Kind of looks like an AR, and they just added that into the game 2-3 seasons ago. And that thing is a beast. I love that thing. It's like a laser, just you can just destroy people with it. But it's based in the same universe. And there's a whole bunch of different operators that you have. And so, for example, you have like Pathfinder, you have Wraith. These are the names. These are like they're like call signs is the best way to describe them. One of my main characters her name is Lifeline, but her real name is actually like AJ or something like that. But everyone goes by their character names or their call signs. And so there is an underlying story that's going on, and all the characters do know each other. For example, there's a character called Revenant, and he is like a cybernetic robot guy, but with a human brain, and he like can't die. I don't really know how to describe it other than that. He definitely can die in the game, and like don't get me wrong, but like his whole thing is that he can't die, and so he's like really cynical. He's been alive forever, and so he actually killed the parents of another one of the operators, and so their quips back and forth to each other is like very snarky, very bad, very mean towards each other, and it's really cool to see and step in to this world where there's like a whole bunch of history going on. You know what I've never understood is why the Apex Legends, like why there's a battle royale going on in the first place, because they always have, some sort of backstory, but I've never understood that. But basically there's like this company called Hammond, and they are like the creators of this of sorts. And there's like a whole lot of cybernetics stuff that's going on, and so that's what Hammond's whole thing is. They're like a cybernetic research facility or something along those lines, and so they created a couple of the characters, or a couple of the characters work for the company. And then before all of this was going on, I was actually doing a little bit of research right here, and there was a whole war going on called the Frontier War and that is supposedly like the Titanfall area. And so I don't know if I think this might take place after Titanfall and after Titanfall 2. But like one of the characters is named Bangalore, and she fought in the Frontier War. So it's kind of interesting to see. Yeah, it's really interesting to see all those lores. And for the most part, there is you just hop in the game, do a battle royale, pick your operator, and each operator has like a different perk or quirk that they have. But there is like a story mode that gives you bits and pieces of the backstory. It's almost like these characters have amnesia and you're finding out what happened in this different thing. So they added a map called Olympus, which is the one that you were playing on. And that is like in the sky. And so as you're playing the game, even into their standard battle royale mode, you could hear different quips that the characters have. Like there's like a whole farm area on the map Olympus, and anytime the characters go over there, they're like, oh, they could have fed the whole world with the research that they had here. And that's something the characters just say that, in the background of free for alling it with other players.
Yeah, I found that interesting. The dialogue as you're playing, there seems to be dialogue between characters, just kind of as you're moving about in your ears. Them talk and explaining what's going on and tying it into the overarching story. But I didn't realize there is kind of like a story mode where you can
full on
progress. I haven't accessed that.
Yeah, so if you're playing the game on here, and I think I have it pulled up actually. Where's my mouse? There it is. As you're playing, you can you go to like the main title screen where all of your people are. In the top left, you can click like the season, and then you can play season games.
Oh, so you can go back to the previous seasons.
I don't think you can go back. That's the one thing I don't like about this, because I played season 1 and part of season 2, and then I stopped until season 5. Right. So I didn't play for quite a while, and there's a lot of story arcs or a lot of story chunks that I'm missing, and that I'd probably have to I could probably find it on YouTube and watch like a whole breakdown of
cinematics.
Everything. Exactly. Yeah, I could watch the stuff like that. But I hopped back in at season 5 and had to piece together different things. And like the relationship between the characters Loba and Revenant, those are the two that don't like each other. And so I've sort of pieced that together, that Revenant killed her parents, and then that she came back for vengeance looking for Revenant, but they have to team up together to be in the battle royale thing. And so like Loba will one of her perks is that she puts down this thing. It's called a black market, and it like pulls loot from a certain radius into this one spot. So you don't have to go looking around for loot. You just go to this one spot. And so if Revenant uses that, Loba gets mad. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So this kind of strikes me like Overwatch a little bit. Yeah.
I follow the cinematics of Overwatch. Like, I love it. I've actually only played Overwatch maybe twice because I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. This is the kind of stuff that gives me anxiety, and I'm just going to die. I wanted a story. Like I wanted a story mode where you almost kind of like I guess kind of like a brawler, or maybe more like an RPG type game. But then I found out it was like a battle royale first person shooter. And I loved the cinematics. That's really what drew me to it. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This gorilla talks, like, and these people like are like look like angels in like mech suits, and there was kind of like that whole Snake Eyes and what was his brother's name? White Cobra or something like that. And G.I. Joe, like that. The brothers, but they're rivals and they're trying to kill each other. It was like a ninja.
But yeah.
So I'm like, that drew me to the game. But then I played it and I'm like, oh, but it's different. It kind of was almost like, I felt like for me, it was like, oh, it's kind of misleading. Like, this isn't what I wanted to do with these characters.
Yeah.
But with Apex Legends, like I saw the cinematics and I was intrigued, and I came and I played the Battle Royale. It is a little different. What sets Apex Legends apart from other Battle Royale type games and other games kind of like Overwatch and those type that are like free to play? It seems to be an overarching story, but you're coming into a Battle Royale. What set it apart for you?
So I will say, prefacing that, is there is not really a story mode to be played, right? There's like different things that you have to do. And so like one of the main enemies aside from other players is the thing, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but they're like these lion creature things that you go fight. And so like one of the things you have to do is like you have to fight off waves of those tiger lion things.
Okay.
While also like I remember one of them is you have to like go drill and mine for artifacts that you're piecing together while fending off these lions. Right. That's pretty much the story mode. And then the rest of the story mode comes from cinematics and things that you read and whatnot. So there's no story mode, I should say, but there is a story and background information that's interesting. And I find the story fascinating as I'm learning it. And they keep adding new operators that add different things to the story, and it's really interesting. The thing I think that sets Apex specifically apart from battle royales in general is that all battle royales are, aside from Apex, is that you drop down, find your stuff, and eliminate the other team, right? The interesting thing about Apex is that you have, a pool of operators that you have to choose from, and you can only pick 3 for your team, and they have to bounce each other, or they have to balance each other and help each other out. So you could pick 3 attackers that don't heal, and then you're kind of screwed because you don't have a healer on your team. You know what I mean? Other battle royales don't have that at all.
So it pushes team play that way. There's strategy. You're going to want to strategize. I see. And I see why group play, it's more lucrative, like getting people
exactly.
in the
Yeah. And so, and then depending on who you main, will be beneficial to the team or not. One of the characters that I main is Lifeline, and she is a healer, and she has this drone that just gives you health. And so after a firefight will happen, I'll throw this drone down so that they don't have to use their health kits until it's, they're far away from me battling someone on their own and I can't get to them. So it saves them there. But then there's also this operator named Bloodhound who does the scan thing, and it, within a certain radius, illuminates where other players are through walls. So it gives you wall hacks for 10 seconds.
That's super helpful.
Oh, super helpful. And so
if you really have no idea where anyone is. I noticed that there's no real radar. There's no real way to know. You thankfully can see where your teammates are on the map, and you can even see them through walls and whatnot. It's just they're always available to you. But everyone else, it's just element of surprise, and the maps are enormous. It's not like in Halo where you can go 10 steps and you can see almost everybody in anywhere. If you go to a high place, you're going to be able to see your enemies moving around. Here, that's not the case.
They're stealth.
So huge.
Yeah.
These games can take up to 20 minutes long or however.
In fact, funny enough, right before I joined the Discord or the Zoom call with you guys, I was actually looking at the time because I was in a game and I was like, oh my gosh, this game's taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I was like, I'm going to have to get off really soon, Fortunately, I just got roasted by an enemy team right beforehand.
Fortunately for us.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many different tactical ways you can play it. You can run and gun because this game is fast paced, really, really fast paced. It's one of those games where you flick, shoot, run, slide, jump, and you could do all these different things, and you have to be fast and on it and know where your keys are at all times. You know what I mean? Pokemon.
I did see that because I was watching some videos and I wanted to know how different it is to Fortnite. And how does it compete with Fortnite? Because Fortnite's so huge, right? And so one of the things I noted is that Apex Legends is fast-paced, quick-paced. So that supplements the building side of Fortnite. Now, I'm not a big fan of the building thing. I thought it was
I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I did not like that. It's not me. Some people love it. They love building on the fly. It's not even building. It's more like you've just created 4x4 walls to protect you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But when I saw Apex Legends, I saw that it has a speed to supplement the building, right? So I was looking at characters just jumping around and everything, and so I saw that okay, so now you're rewarded for just moving really quick instead of building things. So I was like, okay, this could interest me a little more.
It's definitely fantastic. It's really hard when you get these dudes who are just spider monkeys. You know what I mean? They're just going and going and going, and you can also run up walls and jump off them, and there's different things that you can do when you get really good at this game. And so sometimes it's really hard to keep your crosshairs on a target because you could be going, but then the best part about it, they have, if you're fighting one person, so for example, me and Fonz are fighting right now, and then Luis is on Fonz's team, and then all of a sudden Luis sees Alfonso in trouble and starts attacking me. Now I have 2 people to worry about, where my team might not be behind me yet. They might not be there. They might be busy on their own thing. And then if 2 teams are fighting, you can get third-partied by another team that comes in and just destroys you, which is a very common thing. So, me and my team will be going and we'll hear firefight off to our right. And we say to each other, do you want to go third party that? You know what I mean? Because they're fighting, they're preoccupied with each other. I can go flank them. And then on top of that, their shields are already gone. Their health is already low. And I'm coming in as the victor already. And so, yeah, getting third parties is a common thing.
So is there,
happen.
This was interesting too. So is there an engagement? Does it take some time? Because in most of these type of games, like you die within seconds. If you see someone else, like in 2 or 3 seconds, someone's gonna die, right? But it's like, as you mentioned, that there's a fire team. So is there like a time frame, like where a fire team could come and go to that area because the engagement's taking longer than usual in most other games?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't eliminate a team fast, another team's gonna be there soon. Because it's loud and it's going to be loud. And the way the games work generally is you either drop hot or you drop not. You know what I mean? And if you drop hot, you're going to be in a fight immediately with no shields, no guns, no anything. You're automatically fighting with other people, and they incentivize those hot drops. You know what I mean? They have like your high tier loot zones and it shows up on the map and it says, hey, there's a lot of high tier loot right here. And then you and 4 other teams all try to get to that loot and get the loot before everyone else does to eliminate everyone. But now you have, because
firefight.
Exactly. Teams of 3, you have 12 guys, huge firefight going on. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay away from that one. So I drop by myself, loot as much as I can. And there's some games where I don't run into a single other team until the very last, team, and the other thing that incentivizes you want to get in firefight is they have the shields. They have 4 different levels of shields. And the more you fight, the quicker the shields go up. Right. And so you have, the basic shield, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And then there's a level 5 shield, but you can only get the level 5 shield by getting in firefights and upgrading your shield through damage. Right. So if you see a dude with a level 5 shield, you're kind of screwed because they've been fighting the whole time. They're already, higher shields than you. They have more shields than you because it's a level 5 shield. They've already eliminated other players. So it's like, that's a top dog player right there. They're going to really be a difficult one to fight. So
that's very interesting. Yeah, I noticed also the environment starts to play a factor.
Absolutely.
There were these these heat circles that started showing up.
So that right now is specific to season 8. That's like a what do they call it? It's called a takeover, and it's like a specialty game mode.
Okay.
Right. So that doesn't happen all the time. That's just in what's going on right now. And
interesting.
It could help you. It could not. You can. I played it for the first time today, actually, because I play ranked, and those takeovers don't happen in ranked. So today I actually played the heat zones, and those add a whole nother layer to what's going on.
Because it expands and it gets bigger, and it actually forces you to move out of the area that you're in, especially if you're getting backed into a corner and it's coming into your corner. You got to come in, you're taking damage as you're moving out, but then you see it also pushes people from where they're at. They're running off in a distance. You're like, I see you, you bastard. I'm going to go after you now.
Exactly.
Because for a good while, I haven't played a game of Apex that didn't last over 10 minutes at least. I never it takes a good hot minute, and I think it's because we've always started off away from the firefight, whoever I've been paired with. But the more that I play, the more it's super important that you're in contact with your team, because if they're running off and doing their own thing, you're solo, and if you're solo, you're very hard to survive. If you get shot and you're on the floor, there's a good while where somebody could come around and help you out. But if you're by yourself, not with your teammates, not putting your, I think that's where the tactics come in. And what I enjoy about it is that you can actually drop commands with, by pressing, they give you command keys where you can actually let people know where the loot is, let people know where the enemies are. And, it communicates in the game, which I think is a disadvantage for somebody who's playing the Switch, because the Switch is not made for, it doesn't have the software capabilities to have in-game chat. You have to download an app on your phone and use the app from your phone to have voice chat with people in your party. Whereas anywhere else, you just plug your headset into your remote or into your system or even via Bluetooth, and you're in the game. You're already chatting with everybody who's there. In the Switch, it does make that harder. And there's also disadvantage. Dude, you cannot play this game handheld. I tried. When I first downloaded this game, I played it handheld in my front yard. I'm watching my kids in the neighbor's house. They're jumping on the trampoline, and I'm holding this thing, and I'm like, what? Like all I can see is literally the barrel of my gun and like my scope, and I'm like, dude, if anybody comes out at me, I'm screwed. Like I can't see anything, and the fact that it's so like pixelated and the liquid crystal screen, like it just doesn't compare.
Is it
You
crossplay?
It is,
Yeah.
Oh, and you're playing
so
with people who are on different platforms. You know, they're on PC, which
PC is so unfair.
You can so you can set it to where you're only playing within your console thing. So you can make it so that you're so within your settings you can make it so that you can only play to Switch players or you can only play PC players. I play crossplay because there are people that I play with that are on other consoles and other things. Like one of my best friends plays on Xbox, and so I play crossplay, but I play on PC. And so, oftentimes I outshoot other people because I've got the mouse and keyboard right here.
Yeah.
But I was going to say one of the biggest components of it is sound. Sound makes a big difference because you can hear footsteps coming up before they happen. So if you don't have a headset, you're like kind of definitely at a disadvantage. You're kind of screwed because you can't hear the firefight happening until it's happening and you're taking damage.
Yeah, it's definitely something I enjoyed playing on my TV for sure.
I
think it's impossible. I would say it's well, nothing is impossible, but I mean, you have to have a certain amount of talent to be able to play handheld. It's definitely something you want to have on your TV.
Of course,
it's very enjoyable. If you have a nice TV, if you have a good screen, it actually doesn't look too bad.
It's a pretty game.
Yeah, it is. It reminded me kind of I don't know if you guys remember the game Mirror's Edge on the Xbox, where you're a runner and you're a jumper.
Absolutely.
Like it's pretty, it's bright. It's I mean the graphics are pretty great, and actually the movement component of it, like where you can actually climb. I was a Pathfinder, the robot looking guy.
Oh yeah.
I really liked him, but the thing is he didn't start off with a weapon. I was like, well, I have nothing, you know.
Yeah, no one starts out with anything.
Okay, I thought it was just to him, but
no,
like, I have nothing.
You're gonna have to talk to them out of shooting you.
Yeah, the running and the jumping and the climbing, I'm like, oh, this is pretty neat. Like you have quite a bit of agility and
that is fun.
And
acrobatic.
Depending on where you are, there is you have your X and your you have your X and your Y axis that every shooter game has. You're moving forward, backwards, left, and right. But with Apex, there's a whole Z axis because there's really, really high structures that I can snipe down on you from. Or if I'm in a firefight, there's these things called jump towers, which is basically a yellow rope on a balloon, right?
Yes.
And if I'm in a firefight and I'm losing, I can just hop on that and skyrocket up and get out of there. And I've done that a lot of times, but you can still get shot on there, and I can also shoot down from there. So there's like 1,000,001 things that you can do, which I love because it adds all these dynamics to the game. And I think that's what sets it apart from any other first-person shooter that I've played. Is there's so many things that can happen at any given time to where it never gets old.
The strategy makes it appealing because for me personally, I'm not a big shooter type. I mean, going back to like when I was playing my shooters in Halo 2, and then going all the way to when I played Battlefield, Call of Duty, it was always the same concept. You're just chasing each other around the map. There really wasn't strategy or the need for teams. Maybe a competitive gameplay was different, but yeah, just playing a pickup game. There was no strategy. There was no competition. It's whoever knew the map the best wins. It was what it came down to.
That's Call of Duty.
Yeah. And so as you described it, strategy plays an important role, and there's a lot of things going on, and it sounds like even what Alfonso said, that the parkour is really fun, and so that
fantastic.
Definitely has an excitement, and I think it might be a good balance because I also did play another game called Escape from Tarkov, and it's a realistic shooter, right? And so that was fun. I played with my brother. My brother's a Marine, so he really got into it and really showed me how to play the game the right way, and it was fun until there was a lot of hackers that would join in and really kill the realism, right? And so because you lose all your things. Now that's a fun part of the game too, because you have to get your equipment and pay for it. But then if you die, you lose everything. And and so like when you have someone who's hacking the game or going in there, it was just really discouraging. So I just shelved the game. I was like, not anymore. It's too stressful, right? But this game does sound interesting. Definitely gonna be worth a check out. And I did download it on computer and on the Switch. Just for
you got a game, bro.
Yeah. And I think after hearing, like, if it's going to be that way, computer will probably be the way I'll go.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely play it on your computer. If I recommend it, because of how, not necessarily tactical, how fast how fast paced it is. The flicking of a mouse is just next level. You know what I mean? And my buddies who I play with, I'm in a group. I'm in like a clan with a bunch of people, and they're, you know, the ranking system is like, what is it? Bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, apex, or I think there's one other thing in there. All of my friends that I play with are platinum and up. They're all stupid good players, and I'm like a gold player. You know what I mean? I'm the worst one of my group. And they're stupid good, and they're the kinds of guys that like they'll go into like a first person shooter trainer, and then they'll sit there and flick their mouse back and forth. You know, so there's guys that are like that.
Dedication.
Good lord.
Oh, they're stupid good.
Jeez.
You know.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so the nice thing about the ranking system, though, is it ranks you with people that are of your skill set and of your skill level. So, you know, and everyone starts out in the bottom tier. You know, we all, doesn't matter how high you got, you're going to start at level 1 for the ranking system at the new season, right? And then the people who are stupid good get stupid good rankings very, very fast, and the people who, you know, lack stay down here for a long time, and you weed out. So like day 1 of the new season, you might get just completely destroyed by, you know, diamond players, but they'll be in diamond tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I think it really does balance very, very well. It makes it fun.
And that's a progression curve, right? Like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ian.
No, I was gonna say that was gonna be like my one question about it so far, is because I mean, this is not my type of game at all, but you're doing a pretty dang good job like selling it for me.
Solid.
But that's my biggest fear, is because when it comes to playing any game online, particularly first person shooters, and maybe that's because I've been soiled by like Call of Duty being one of the only ones I ever really tried, is just how quickly you realize it makes me have to come to terms with the fact that I suck at video games.
yeah
Like it's total ego death for me.
Of course.
Yeah. But knowing that like you say you kind of swear by the ranking system there, that maybe it is worth me jumping in at a low skill level, and then seeing that maybe I don't know, maybe I'll just be playing amongst the slow thumbed 8-year-olds, I don't know, but knowing that I have a chance, you know, makes me feel like, and knowing that I like not just that, but then like I kind of have the opportunity to move my way up, that clean slate thing that you're talking about, you know, with every season. Like that sounds like a good way to go about that, because I know one of the ones I tried too was Battlefront 2, when that one, and it had all of its controversy for a while, but that game, like, you know, slowly course corrected into being a better game and a better online multiplayer like service. But there was never really a way to escape the fact that you were going to run into power players. It was just going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And knowing that there's a chance in here for you to kind of feel like you're going more up against well-matched people, I think might be the incentive I needed.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Respawn and EA have done a really, really good job at matchmaking in this and matching you against players who are of your skill set. You know, that's why I swear by the ranking system, because rank matters, and I don't want to tarnish my rank, but I'm playing against people who are just as good as I am. You know what I mean? And if I'm playing in casual games, then I can be playing against any person. So the top 2 tiers of Apex is the Apex Predator, which is top 1, and then Apex Diamond players, right? Apex Predators, if you run into a Predator, okay, there's only 500 slots available for Predator. So if I go into Predator and I'm, you know, Predator 500, that means I've knocked someone out of the Predator slot.
Whoa. So 500, like worldwide, like there's only 500 players that are Predator?
Only 500.
Whoa.
Yep.
Wow.
Right? But the coolest part about that, there could be infinite diamonds, only 500 predators, right? And those guys, I'm already come to terms with the fact that I'm never going to be a predator. Those guys are next level. But in casual games, everyone has their smoke trail when they're dropping in. That's true for Fortnite. That's true for, you know, all these battle royales, is they all have smoke trails for some reason. Well, the way Apex did it is that you get a customized smoke trail if you're a predator, and a customized smoke trail if you're diamond, and those are readable for everybody. So I've dropped in where I see the predator trail and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go that way, I'm gonna go this way, you know, because there's a predator in my match, right? That's for casual games. For the ranked games, I will never run into a predator because I'm not at that level. I'm not a predator level, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be playing people who are bronze and silver as a bronze. I'm going to be running into people who are, silver and gold as a silver. And so it might set you up with some people that are a little bit better than you and a little bit worse than you.
Opportunity to grow.
Exactly. And the best part about it is I've gone into games with a diamond player and an enemy team took them out, and then I took out that enemy team. You know what I mean? So it's like there is a lot of things that can happen, and it's super dynamic and ever changing constantly. And I think that's the best part about it. And then depending on which operators you take into the game can make or break your game. And so there's operators who are trappers, operators who are defense players, operators who are healers, operators who are trackers. You know what I mean? So there's a million and one things that you can do the lottery system, not the lottery system, the what's the word I'm looking for? The randomization of the game. You'll never play the same game twice. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
If I pick the same 3 operators of me and my buddies and I drop in the same spot every single time, the players that drop there, the amount of players that drop there, the operators that these people took will never ever be the same. So I could drop in the same spot with the same 3 people on my team and run into a ton of people, or to nobody, or someone who's really good with their player, or you know what I mean? So I think that's what adds a lot of replayability, is that there's always something different every time.
And I did read up that the weapons stay the same. There isn't upgrading weapons, but there's upgrading like cosmetic things on your weapons, right? Like that's how you get to show like, hey, I've been playing these things earned, but the weapons stay the same. So there's no advantage. Like someone like in Battlefront 2, for example, this is a game I love too. But one of the things that's really hard for new players is that these people have buffed out weapons and they buffed out abilities. Yeah. So like, if you're just starting out, you really have to just be willing to take all the crap in the beginning to become a good player. You're going to lose a lot before you start winning some, right? So that's Battlefront. And in this game, I read that everyone has the same weapon. So
exactly. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm saying so that definitely as a new player makes it interesting to start out.
No matter how good you are at this game, when you drop in, you're starting the same as everybody else. There's no like bumps in DPS or damage per second. There's no bumps in ammo capacity. When I drop and I pick up a gun for the first time, I have the same gun that you just picked up. And there might be different guns because they have, assault rifles, they have machine guns, light machine guns, all these different things. Exactly. They have different types of guns. So for the different players, there's some people who are really good at sniping and can hit their shots every time. I'm not one of those players. I'm a heavy machine gun player. I love to just spray and pray, and I will just lay down fire. There are upgrades you can find within the game, but it's randomized. You have to go out and loot, which is why they incentivize you to go loot, and they have these areas where there's going to be high tier loot, but everyone who plays the game knows there's high tier loot, and they go there, and that's where the firefights happen.
It's a dangerous area. Got it.
Exactly. And you can see on the map the dangerous areas as well. So you could stay away from them or go to them or try your luck somewhere else or try and fight, whatever the thing is. And that's what adds, again, is talking about the dynamics. There's so many different aspects of what can happen depending on where you drop, how fast you are, how good you are, what it is. The only thing you can upgrade is your skins, really, which I spend like you spent money on those Pokeballs. I spent some money on some skins.
Right.
So
that's where they get you.
I love it, dude. I have some sick looking characters.
Yeah, that's why it's free to play.
Exactly.
Ultimately, what you want to customize is your experience. The game, it got you because it's free, but then the money comes in customizing your characters and whatnot, and your weapons and all the cool stuff.
I mean, I may eat my words if I end up playing it, but luckily, like I've never cared about having like the premium skins or any of my character looking a certain way. Like I think my Pokemon Go avatar is still just like t-shirt and jeans.
I changed that immediately.
I'm pretty sure my Fall Guys character is still just a purple jelly bean. Like it's,
Love it.
I'm like, I'll if it doesn't cost me anything, I'll go for forever. You know what? I'm aiming for the Apex that 500 rank. All right, and I'm just might as well just go out in the plainest clothes possible.
It's like,
speaking of Fall Guys, their Fall Guys is now getting Among Us costumes.
Oh,
so you can get your little jelly bean guy to have an Among Us little astronaut outfit or whatever those are.
I love it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty close already, isn't it?
Right?
I thought they were the same game.
Yeah,
I saw the pictures of it, and I'm like, it seems right. That's great. I'm sold, Adam. I'm
happy I could be a liaison for you to get you into this game. In fact, EA, hit me up. I definitely will talk you up next time I talk about this game.
Absolutely. That's not a paid promotion, but hey, might as well be.
Not as yeah.
We're gonna have to link up and play because I want to play with somebody who knows what they're doing and can
Absolutely.
guide me through it.
Absolutely. I would love to be a part of this.
Yes.
There we go. Smash that like button for Adam.
Yeah.
For Adam's sake, give him some feedback in the comments area. Are you guys playing it? Do you want to play it now that Adam has convinced you? We want to hear about it. Now, speaking of Switch and all of its downfalls when it comes to Apex, we got some new details on the Nintendo Switch, which might want to make you, Adam, who is not a Switch owner, hold off until this new Switch, unofficially called the Nintendo Switch Pro.
Okay.
There's gonna be a new one possibly released at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. This new information on the model that's been improved has been released. It's surfaced around the interweb. The information I have is from IGN. Apparently, they're going to be getting new Samsung 7-inch 720p, which is what they have, the current specs they have right now. OLED screen. Is it OLED or OLED?
Either way.
Interchangeable, yeah.
Whatever. Cool. So they're getting those. The current model is 6.2 inches and it has a liquid crystal display. So apparently, you know how the Nintendo Switch has that black border around it? The 7-inch screen is getting rid of that black border, and it's going to be the whole Switch is going to be a screen.
Ooh, that's tight. It's turning into an iPhone, essentially.
Essentially, right?
Yeah, because they can't really change the body shape too much because then you have to introduce new sizing for the controllers, and then at that point you're just making a brand new system. So
yeah,
it's about it. I think with a mock-up I saw that was like a fan made thing. That was about the max you could get to and still be able to case the thing in a semi-child proof way,
Semi-child proof.
Yeah. And that's the difficulty with trying to get a case for it with my kids. I'm super cautious whenever they take it off the dock. Like, dude, be very careful with that. Like, hold it with 2 hands, because if not, that thing will fall and shatter into a million pieces.
No.
And the Switch is a very sensitive item for the allure it has to younger children, basically. Like, it's a very fragile console. It's going to be easily scratched. The Joy-Cons, if you're too aggressive taking them out, they'll get loosened. So I find it interesting.
You get the drift.
The drift, yeah.
Yeah, and so hopefully they'll fix some of the hardware issues as well. I'm hoping that it's not just a better screen and a better resolution. It says that the ability to output 4K ultra high definition graphics will be now available while in docked mode. So I feel like it's just a matter of time for them to step up their graphics content, because the newer games that have been coming out that have more of that demand on their graphics are starting to show the flaws in having that old tech and that Nintendo is not moving to that next gen, but their games are. So I think the biggest one that was affecting, and the one that I play, is Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. You play it and you're in the middle of combat and enemies just appear. You see them come from transparency into now they're opaque, and you're like, wait, where were you guys? Like, I was just attacking enemies, and I turn around and this horde of enemies just spawn there. I mean, they were always supposed to be there. Grass, it'll kind of vanish and then it's there, which is not characteristic of Zelda games. Breath of the Wild, the frame rates didn't really dip much. It held very well.
It did for the most part. There were some areas where I did experience frame drops when there's areas with a lot of foliage. So if you were in a vast forest, there's a place, I think by what the Master Sword location is, that area, there's
the Lost Woods.
Yeah, there's a lot of frame drops there, and I did notice that. But overall, even though it's visually there's so many aesthetics, it does very well.
Yeah, it does, but there's going to be more demand on newer games coming out. And, speaking about, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Arceus, that's going to be released next year. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be kind of around the same time, or possibly even the launch game for this new and improved Switch Pro. Or, as somebody else has said it, Super Nintendo Switch, which would be a play on the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It'd be going full circle. I'm on board for that rather than the Switch Pro. But I don't think it'll be a new system. It seems like it's just going to be kind of like how the Xbox had the Xbox One, and then it had like the Series S, and it kind of just like started to grow. It was still the same game, and you could still play older games and newer games in that same console. But it did improve the quality of their ability to, process more demanding games. So I don't know. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are, what you guys' hopes are for the possibility of a new Switch Pro. When do you guys think it'll come out? You think it'll be out in time for the holiday season, or will it be something that we release next year?
I think upgrading the Switch is inevitable. You know what I mean? They upgrade they upgrade the consoles at all times, and especially with this being in the same vein as a handheld device, they're going to upgrade the screen. They're going to upgrade the resolution. They're going to upgrade the size of the screen, because at the end of the day, everybody wants a huge screen. That's what iPhone's doing. They literally have lost the borders of iPhone, and now the entire front is just the screen. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if Switch does not the similar thing, but in the same vein where where the Joy-Cons come off is all screen. So the biggest screen that you can have. We still got a year to go. This year's flying by, but it's still a year. So in time for the holidays, I would not be surprised. That's my 2 cents.
It seems to make the most sense to me as well, as if they were gonna, if it is a real thing and all the rumors are true, that holidays would make the most sense for them to be able to push something out. And I know they haven't made any big announcements, and they've kind of in fact made it sound like they're pushing it off a little bit further. But while Pokemon would be a big draw, I genuinely think that if this is true, that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be the game that launches with it. I mean, that was the game that sold the system in the first place.
Absolutely.
That if they were gonna jump onto how to improve that, how can we showcase that this is all the more reason to jump into the thing that took the industry's breath away 4 or 5 years ago. It's going to be doing it in 4K and doing it with a little bit more power behind it, and you're going to have a system seller, especially if it's not going to be a full next iteration. If we're not getting a Switch 2 and everything still has to be backwards compatible per se, like everything's only going to be upgraded by the Switch Pro, but not necessarily exclusive to the Switch Pro, then they're going to want to be able to have something that puts their best foot forward visually when they start marketing this stuff out there. So you're going to start seeing footage, I assume by the end of the year, of games that are going to see shown performance on Switch Pro or whatever it ends up being called. The same way that as soon as PlayStation put out the PS4 Pro, everything was only shown on the PS4 Pro. No matter, even though the install base can't be abandoned, the Switch is almost Nintendo's best-selling system of all time at this point. It's on track to be the Nintendo's best-selling system of all time. I mean, it's actually started to. I'm pretty sure it dethroned the PlayStation in Japan, and it's
absolutely.
And it's starting to kind of be the only big console in Japan right now. Like
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Well, it came out of Japan, but everyone. I have my mother-in-law went to Japan, and I mean everyone has one on a subway. Everyone has a Nintendo Switch in their hands.
I was so bummed. I just went to Washington a few weeks ago, and I was so bummed I didn't have a Switch on the plane. There was a dude like a few rows ahead of me who had a Switch, and I was like, bro, can I borrow that? Like, just for a little bit? Yeah, like, come on.
You should just have one.
It's a girl man, but he goes, hey, no, get your own.
Yeah.
But they have the Switch Lite too, which, I mean, has a exponentially smaller screen too, even that of the Nintendo Switch. You can't take the Joy-Cons off. There are limitations to it, but if it's $200 for that, $300 for the Nintendo Switch console that can be docked and taken off. But now with this Switch Pro possibly coming out, that'll either be more expensive or it might drop the price on the original Switch.
Yeah, when quarantine first started, I had actually bought one, and so I'm not out of the world of Switch completely. I played like a little bit of Breath of the Wild. Had a great time doing it. I was at that elephant part, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes, it was great. The Zora domain. This is like my favorite area.
That's where I ended, because the girl took the Switch with her. We broke up. Damn it.
My heart breaks for you.
Yeah, so I'm bummed about it, but it's all right. Yeah, so I wish I still had one just for the portability of a video game, you know?
That sold a lot of games for me already. Like my library on the Switch is huge, and there's games that I've held off on, knowing that I could have the extra hunt of like trophies or achievements on another console, or knowing that I could make it look better on another console, solely so I could lay in bed and play it. I purchased on Switch just for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. For me, it was Zelda. Like just having another Zelda game. I still have Super Mario Odyssey, and I don't think I've touched it. My kids have played it, but I'm like, I want to finish Zelda, but I will play Mario Odyssey. It looks great.
You don't sleep on that. I without trying to be hyperbolic and only sing the praises of what's new, that is the best Mario game.
I have heard, and that's why I don't want to rush into playing it. I want to fully enjoy it without having Zelda looming over my shoulder like, come back to me. I want to have completed it and all the DLC that comes with it, and then fully immerse myself in Mario Odyssey, because I've also heard that's a game that you want to spend a lot of time in, complete everything and try everything, and just get every hat and outfit you can put on Mario while exploring the sandbox that is that game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good stuff. I'm excited. Next thing on the itinerary, because it is getting late, Microsoft buys ZeniMax Studios, which is the parent company of Bethesda. So this month, Microsoft Xbox finally bought ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda, for $7.5 billion. The fear among gamers is Xbox exclusivity on beloved Bethesda properties such as Elder Scrolls, Fallout, or Doom, to name a few. But according to Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, existing properties will be optimized for Xbox, but they're under contractual obligation to continue releasing those games on other consoles. But they did say exclusivity will be given only to some new properties created by Bethesda's and all of the other companies the production companies that are under ZeniMax Studios. What are your guys' thoughts? Are you for it? Do you not care? Do you think this will affect you in some way? Do you think Xbox is going to kind of come in and be corporate and ruin Bethesda? What are your thoughts?
I don't think so at all. I honestly think that Xbox has kind of showed its hand in the last couple of years of really playing ball with everyone around them. The relationship they've grown with Nintendo, allowing multiple of their games on the Switch console, and then really opening the door to help Nintendo with crossplay, and kind of being trailblazers when it came to putting Minecraft on every platform after they bought Mojang as well, and not bringing it to every platform, but allowing it to, and then even always trying to reach across the table with and trying to get Sony to play along when it came to pulling them into Minecraft crossplay. I think that we're going to see possibly timed exclusivity, if anything, but I highly doubt we're going to get anything outside of maybe one big franchise that comes out of Bethesda that will be known as an Xbox franchise, and only those really in the know of industry gossip or whatever are going to think that PlayStation missed out. But it won't feel any different than going to the store, seeing the PS4 logo above Spider-Man and wondering why you can't get it for the Xbox. Be like, well, that's the way it's been forever. Sonic wasn't on Nintendo, Mario wasn't on Sega. That's just
Just the way
it's going to feel like that forever. If any, I mean, maybe somehow they finagle their deals to where Fallout 5 or Elder Scrolls 6 is on the Xbox for holiday season, and then the next March or May or whatever it comes out on PlayStation, or but for the most part, no, they're not going to be withholding. I mean, there's too much money on the table to be real for any of this. Way too much money on the table to be withholding it that way.
I completely agree. As far as single player games go, I think, for the holiday season might be exclusive to Xbox. And then when the holiday season's over, be like, okay, where's more money to be made if we take this game and put it everywhere? Right. As far as like multiplayer games go, I think since crossplay is the wave of the future, I don't think it's going to make a difference at all for most of us, because no matter what console we're going to be on, we're going to be able to play with the other consoles anyway.
I feel like at this point it's almost a nail in the coffin. If you put like a multiplayer focused game on one system, you're done for.
You're never gonna sell it. Exactly.
And
that's my 2 cents. As long as they don't touch Fallout, I'm good.
Absolutely.
Don't ruin the Fallout franchise. That's all I care about.
That's
yeah,
where I'm at
as
with
long
Elder
as all their
Scrolls.
games only come out about 85% finished, perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That was only 76 and they fixed it.
Oh man, that has been a tragedy in gaming as of late, right? Publishing them before
What's up?
they're complete, and I think that they need to realize that you just can't do that. There will always be problems with it, and it'll ruin a game. Look at Cyberpunk.
I was just gonna say I bought Cyberpunk and I didn't
I'm
play.
so sorry.
I mean, it was fun while I played it, but there were so many things wrong with it and so many just weird things going on that I just couldn't keep up with it. And I was just like, whatever. I haven't touched it since, even though they have said they fixed it. I think that a lot of these studios are getting pressured from fans, and I think fans need to realize, hold your horses, dude. You keep pressuring these studios into releasing games that are incomplete and then getting mad that they're incomplete. Okay, if you don't want that, then chill. Problem solved.
I think we've also seen a lot of developers who have come out and basically said that it's a money game, that the decisions keep getting made from above the people who are creating the games.
Oh.
Yeah, and that it's that, we need a product out by this point. You want to have a job next year, you need a product out by this point.
Dang.
And games, they're getting more expensive, they're getting bigger, they're getting harder to make. These guys are getting overworked like crazy, and then they get blamed for putting out subpar material when in actuality they just didn't have the time. They couldn't. They did a lot of these studios are just doing the best they can to get something out the door and cross the finish line when they're told they have to. When they're told they don't have another opportunity.
Which is why the best games that come out are the ones that were years in development and had no time restraints, had no benchmarks or anything.
Which is one thing that I think maybe be a really good thing that comes out of this acquisition is because when the publishers who end up owning these studios are the first parties themselves, the console makers, there ends up being less of a bottom line being on the release dates. Obviously, they're still important, but we've seen this a lot with Sony's first party studios, is like their relationship with Naughty Dog isn't based around we need a game at this date. It's we need a game when it's done. And they give them the time. And you almost never see a broken game come out of a Sony first party studio. It just doesn't happen. Because they give them what they need, they give them the time they need, and I'm hoping that because we don't have a lot of experience seeing Microsoft first-party stuff because most of their big acquisitions have been in the last 2 years or so, and they've been kind of ramping up. So we'll start to see if they have a similar outlook on the companies they're overseeing because I think while competition is healthy and it's gonna it only makes for better games for gamers. I am worried about the idea of maybe missing out on something, but that's been my whole gaming life. I've never had both consoles. It's never gonna so it's always gonna be a part of it. But the idea that these guys are gonna be able to have the money they need, the time they need, the resources they need to put out things that aren't nearly as broken anymore because they have the support of the game industry itself outside of the third party developers who seem to be the biggest push. That's why we get the more broken stuff out of EA or Ubisoft or these other companies.
Another thing that I was going to point out really quick is that these games, a lot of story games at least, are starting to feel like, AAA movie titles as well. You know what I mean? They're starting to be full-on productions. And now that we have big companies like Sony and Microsoft buying out smaller studios, we're just going to see better and better content with more and more money. And we're going to have things like, the Avengers series, for example, is one of the greatest movie series of all time. I think it might be the best-selling movie series of all time just because of how many movies there are, but
Avatar made a comeback, surprisingly.
Avatar,
the blue people, not the great Airbender.
The Airbender one's awesome too.
Airbender one's great. I'm surprised that that's not the bestseller, but apparently Avatar came up. It got a second wind, and it outsold the Avengers movie once again, and is now dominating the box or the global market. It's like, what? Avatar?
Haven't seen that movie in ages, but go them.
Yeah. sock it to them.
Yeah, but the point that I was gonna make though is like we're starting to see in the movie industry, one company owning a huge franchise that just makes them millions of dollars, and the amount of time and effort that they spend on these movies to be perfect is what we're gonna start seeing in video game titles and AAA video game titles, where we're gonna see not a single thing broken with this game because of how much money it's going to make now that it's a very well polished final product. So I think there's no room but up.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, you not only is it voice actors anymore, now you're getting actual celebrities who are coming out in these games, right? And like you said, they're just as good as movies, even better. For I guess it's based on the beholder, but it's a movie that's interactive. You're in the movie, because you're right, some of these stories are incredible. That I've played games where I've gotten emotional towards the end of the game, right?
Of course, yeah.
And I was thinking a little bit too. I could give a little bit of information on ZeniMax, because I played the Elder Scrolls Online, and I remember a lot of people who, in the beginning, when they played the Elder Scrolls Online, they were like, "Well, it's not Bethesda though." They were worried about that. And I remember that in the beginning, the game was not well done. There was a lot of bugs. There was a lot of issues. It felt very empty, right? But ZeniMax, over the course of these years, have done a good job giving the community what they've been asking for. It's not perfect, but they've been doing great. The game doesn't feel so empty anymore, and especially when you have to compete with a titan like World of Warcraft. I mean, that was the bar. The bar was set that high. I mean, Blizzard has had the opportunity of being that titan and staying up there, and it's easy for them. So when you have a new MMO coming out, it is quite the feat, and I think ZeniMax did that very well. So having the backing of Microsoft, I'm really curious to see their potential from there.
I think there's a little bit of a get out of jail free card with some MMOs, as long as you hit right out of the gate. If you hit out of the gate, then you're given the opportunity, like there's the built-in knowledge that you're going to keep getting better, that you're going to keep adding more. Something like Cyberpunk, while it may have had, it may have expansions in the future, that's not the point of it. So you get your first impression, and that's all you get. And so while there's other examples of games out there that have kind of missed the mark out of the gate, and then given the time, they're able to fix it. But I think it comes down to the fan base and the audience being able to have the same patience that maybe fans of other genres have given their games. What was that one? It was like a space mining game that everyone thought was going to be the
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, where everyone thought it was the second coming of Christ when it came to video games, and it turns out that it
apart.
Yeah, no, it turns out it was like a more mature space Minecraft. It was pretty bare bones, but I mean, it wasn't the worst, but it was definitely a really cool thing for the one mechanic they were building upon. I mean, it was a really, really small team. But then over time, they went, okay, they laid out everything that the fans wanted. They disappeared, stopped talking about it. And then, 4 or 5 years later, or however far it's been out from that game, you have a very impressive product, but you don't have the number of people behind it that you did when the hype was as high as it was.
Yeah.
So I think
Fallout 76.
I think a lot of the time you wind up, the gaming community ends up being its own worst enemy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because right in that hype wave is tricky. You have this time frame, and the gaming community, they're not the friendliest of people, and they're very impatient, and they're wanting the best quality service right now, or else they'll move on to the next new shiny thing, right? So it's a difficult market to definitely sell to. But I think that's why in the world of Steam, like, you're seeing a lot of early access games. Like, early access is becoming the norm, or which is like just a beta. Basically, you're getting the beta game, and that's the new norm. A lot of people who see early access, I would say, they're even more sympathetic. Like, they even know, like I know it's early access, so I'm willing to be patient. Like Ian was mentioning, that's so true. But like, when you're used to the traditional AAA title, like, people want the best right now.
And that holds true for a lot. I know Minecraft stayed in a beta form for years and years and years. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Fortnite isn't on 1.0 yet, right?
No, in fact, most battle royales are not out of beta. They all say beta.
Yeah, Louis was talking about that before, how that's kind of like the thing right now is to release games on beta, and they just keep improving upon it, and it sucks you in an incomplete game, but then the game is growing, and as it continues to grow, you stay sucked in, because I mean, the game is changing constantly and it's improving constantly. So it gives them as an opportunity to give an unfinished product and continue to build on that while you're being ultimately bled dry. I mean, having fun doing it, but still, that game will never go away until the end of time.
And unfortunately, you can't do that with story games. And that's the tricky part. You just can't. Like I remember I played The Witcher the first day it came out for a little bit. I maybe got maybe a couple hours in the game, and then I had something else that I was really excited for release, and I played that. And so I played The Witcher maybe 6 months after it had been released. And what a difference, like in the improvements in the game, where it was the interface, the inventory systems, everything. And so I am glad in a sense that I waited that long to play The Witcher, because my second time around was a much better experience. Like the game was a lot cleaner, less buggy. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that when the game, even though The Witcher did very well as far as reviews went, a lot of these games, they come out really buggy in the beginning. Judgment has been passed. It's really hard to clean up the past. I mean, I'm trying to think of other games that had a similar issue where it was just a buggy mess. I mean, GTA Online was another one. It was horrid.
And now it's awesome. I mean, have you guys played GTA Online recently? It's sick.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in GTA Online. There's tons of things to do.
I'm just looking forward to a Pokemon MMO. That'd be sick.
Imagine Pokemon Go, but MMO. Like,
I guess, yeah, it's kind of in a way.
But I'm talking like where you could sit at home and like the same concept where you're in the world doing these things. I guess not necessarily the augmented reality part of it, but where you get those other avatars and whatnot, like that'd be just this is the tightest thing. And you go out and I guess that's the whole point of Pokemon, is you go get the Pokemon in general. But
yeah. I'd like to see other trainers doing it, and
exactly.
have the ability to battle them. Like, how MMOs are. Like, you just see people minding their own business, and they have like their dragon like following them, and you're
that's
just like,
the tightest thing.
But you're just doing your business, going in, doing missions, going out, and whatnot. But then imagine that, like.
There's some pretty broken like fan versions of that already in existence. Yeah, there's I sideloaded a Pokemon MMO onto my Oculus Quest.
You're kidding.
No. Someone they fully made the 3D rendered the entire Kanto region from the first Pokemon Red and Blue games.
Wow.
And like you design your trainer, your avatar, your partner Pokemon follows behind you no matter what it is. You interact with other people. There's Pokemon running around the wild. Yeah. It's trust me, your imagination is way higher quality than whatever this actually is. This is terrible, but it's kind of like it's a look into what could be,
Yeah. That is worth looking into just for that. I mean, because I think it just came to me when we were talking about it now. Like, that would be pretty sick. Like the idea of raids that was brought forth in Pokemon Sword and Shield.
So we already have sort of this concept then.
Kind of, but not
there's
not
bits
to the
and
extent.
pieces across several games. Yeah.
So we have the technology. We just need to do it.
I think so. And we just need to have a Pokemon Online, like a massive multiplayer online Pokemon game.
Do it!
Right? So Nintendo, if you are listening to this, and if you ever do, please develop, if you're not already developing, a Pokemon MMO. Even if it's broken, obviously, we don't care. We just want it out there. Let's talk Powerpuff Girls. I mean, the only reason why I actually became interested in this is because this is actually something I'm quite furious about. This all started, back when Disney started rebooting all of their cartoons, which were incredibly successful and amazing, great content. But for some reason, they felt the need to reboot everything into live action. And some things worked, some things, most of them didn't, I would say. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but like, I keep hearing about more and more of their really great cartoons that, if they're not broke, don't fix them.
I agree.
Why would you turn them into live action to be ultimately a CG mess?
Personally, I think you shouldn't. I think you should come up with new concepts in general.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Give new content to come out with, because it's just like we were talking about with Pokemon. You know, the fans who are diehard fans are never going to be satisfied with what it is. You know what I mean? They did the same thing with Teen Titans. You know, when they made Teen Titans Go, and I thought that was absolutely just a joke. Like, come on, like
the Titans live action series on DC Universe Online. It is a little different. You know, it's a super gritty.
That's different. That's full on
super gritty.
That feels like a separate adaptation.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. But anyway, so like, but that's also the way that the CW and just like Warner Brothers is going with their adaptations, which
they tend to take them and make them dark.
Yes. So CW has ordered a pilot for, the Cartoon Network property Powerpuff Girls to be made into a live action TV series. So the animated series was great. It was around my era, 1998 to 2005. They released a Pokemon Girls movie in 2002. They rebooted recently the animated series to be kind of more like the Pokemon Go type cartoons on the Cartoon Network. But apparently, here is the synopsis. The new series sees the pint-sized superheroes as disillusioned 20-somethings who resent having lost their childhood to fighting crime. Will they agree to reunite now that the world needs them more than ever? Like, already the premise kind of gives you that. They're going to be dark, depressed teenagers.
Of course,
early 20s, But the cast, and this is where, Adam, the intrigue and the interest comes in, right? So Chloe Bennett from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be Blossom. Dove Cameron from Disney's Descendants will be Bubbles. And Yana Peralt, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name wrong, don't cancel me, YouTube, who is relatively unknown, will be Buttercup. So Adam, please explain how you know Dove Cameron from Disney's Descendants, who will be...
I'm looking up her IMDb right now, but I was on a lot of Disney shows as a kid growing up.
What?
I did a lot of... Yeah, so...
Tune in next week for Adam's Disney shows.
No, please don't look them up. Please don't look them up. It's embarrassing stuff. I'm looking on it right here. Where is it? Oh, so anyway, I grew up in the scene where I was playing lots of like these pop shows, and so I rubbed elbows with like Cameron Dallas and Nash Greer, if you remember who those guys were. They were like Vine and TikTok stars. I knew like Shawn Mendes when he was like really fucking tiny, or sorry, when he was really tiny. I knew that guy, and then there's another guy, I can't remember his name. It's like, oh, Jacob Whitesides. It's another kid. But there were like these pop star events, and I would play them with my brother. And then I was also on Disney show or Disney Channel on a couple different shows. And so I rubbed elbows with a lot of those people, saw them around, and I knew them. They recognized my face. I wouldn't say I was ever friends with these people. If I don't want to say like, oh, I totally know Dove Cameron. We text all the time. You know what I mean? But I've seen her enough times to where I know her. I'm trying to think of where it was, but like we had a conversation somewhere backstage. I don't remember if it was at the venue or if it was on set, because I was on a show called Kicking It on Disney XD.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I was on that show for a couple episodes.
I'm
no lines.
So much about you, Adam.
No lines. I was a featured extra in one of them, and I had to walk across the screen in a wrestling unitard. And
yes, we're gonna have to go back and pull the video for that.
Episode 2.
There you go.
I'll help you out.
You made it easy for us.
You're gonna do it anyway, so I might as well save you the time. That's awesome. I don't think she was on that show. I'm trying to remember specifically where I knew her from. But it's just weird seeing all these kids that I rubbed elbows with growing up, trying to be in the famous kids scene, and doing acting auditions and being on set and going to venues and playing shows, and seeing all these kids that I rubbed elbows with are now huge time stars. You know what I mean? Dove Cameron, I knew her when she was like 14, 15, somewhere around there, before she was like huge. And now she's on the CW as a featured role. Shawn Mendes, I knew when he was just an acoustic guitar, and he was big then, but nowhere near the household name that he is now, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so it's just cool to see all these people that I've rubbed elbows with are just huge stars now. And I'm just like, it's only a matter of time before I do it, man. It's only a matter of time.
Your big break is coming, Adam.
I hope so.
I mean,
someone. Go ahead.
They're probably still casting Mojo Jojo, right? Like,
Mojo Jojo.
Those are the big things I wanted to talk about too. Like, how is this going to play out? Do you think they're going to do that thing where they, I don't know, would you say anthropomorphize them, like where they turn them from what they would have been in animated? Like him is a total like trans crab.
That's the what's that guy's name?
Isn't it him?
No, Mojo Jojo's the monkey.
Monkey, right? Or chimp.
Yeah.
Or ape.
Whatever.
Does he have a tail? I don't know.
No.
But like him, I mean, how are you gonna? Is it gonna be CG or is it gonna be like just like a dude?
Did you guys watch
representative of kind of takes on elements of the character?
Umbrella Academy? Did you see that?
No,
Yes.
I have not seen it.
Okay, so the monkey in Umbrella Academy, I forgot its name. I feel like it's going to be in the same vein as that, where it kind of looks real.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't really follow much of the CW stuff, especially like their action shows.
Oh, you're right. It's CW.
Yeah. How much money is getting thrown at this?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They've had a lot of success with shows like The Flash, the Arrowverse shows. I think that's their flagship, even though the Arrow has ended. Most of their shows in the Arrowverse, and Supergirl being one of them that kind of was brought in from CBS, and now they have that Superman and Lois. Flash is still going strong. They have a Batwoman, and that the list goes on. They're doing Stargirl and like the Justice Society, so they're bringing on a lot of these Black Lightning, DC projects. Sure. So I think they are starting to invest more in these projects.
Yeah, they're gonna start throwing money at it.
Yeah, so how have they approached characters that are maybe not just like full on humanoid figures or think of powers in general? Like how have they addressed high effect characters in shows they've been doing in the last few years?
I've been surprised. It depends. On The Flash, they take a lot more liberties in fantasy. Like they really do. Like King Shark comes out, which is a half shark humanoid, and he fights Gorilla Grodd, who is a straight up talking gorilla. Well,
sick.
He is a psychic gorilla, so he speaks through his mind.
It's freaking tight, dude.
So, and they have a straight up battle, which I was like, whoa, I didn't think they would pull it off.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. And you're right.
But go ahead, Louis.
Oh, I was going to say, and it didn't look like out of place. Like it was well done. The characters there didn't look goofy, right? The shark itself was very intimidating looking, right? And then same thing with the big ape. I definitely got like Planet of the Apes vibe when I saw that fight scene. But I think it was well done. It wasn't something that like I said was cheesy, out of place. So I don't know how they did it. Hopefully, they might do something like that with Mojo Jojo.
The demon crab thing, by the way, is it's just referred to as him. The name is His Infernal Majesty, otherwise simply referred to as him.
Oh, interesting.
I googled it and he didn't tell you.
Oh well, thank you, because that gives some perspective on the character.
There you go.
But yeah, but then in Arrow, which I think maybe it was because of the budget, when they did Brother Blood, he was supposed to be a lot more intimidating, magical, more on the wizard side, demonic power, and they made him not that. They made him, he was just a human who was kind of like more like a cult leader and not like a super powerful wizard. So I don't know. I worry because sometimes I feel like they do downplay like people who are supposed to have powers. They give them just technology to be able to have powers, or sometimes they'll downplay those kinds of things and turn them into like a human that just represents, has representative themes from that character. Because Powerpuff Girl villains they're not, just people who are.
They're straight up monsters.
They're straight up monsters.
There's some that are worse than others. Like I'm sure we're gonna see like Princess pop up probably, and and like the Rowdy Rough Boys.
Yeah,
those are gonna be the ones that are gonna be very easy to swing. But then you got like was it Who else do we have? The Amoeba Boys.
Yeah.
Are they going to show up?
Yeah, if you think about a lot of those characters, you're like, how are they going to interpret them?
Maybe they just
live
won't.
action?
Maybe they'll have like the same villain over and over again. Maybe they'll just have Mojo Jojo.
You know what? I'm kind of getting the same vibe. I think that we're probably going to see like Gangrene Gang, Rowdy Rough Boys, Princess, the more human-like characters. If at all, we could be seeing whole new villains. We could be that like they don't even live in Townsville anymore. You know, like this could be moved on, and then maybe save Mojo Jojo for like a finale. You know,
exactly. I was gonna say,
very true.
As far as the Spider-Man movies go, how many Spider-Man villains are there, and how many have we actually seen real adaptations for? You know what I mean? So we don't have to have every villain every episode. We could have, an overarching thing where it's, exactly like Ian said, of having the Rowdy Rough Boys be like the main villains that they have, and then Mojo Jojo comes for the finale. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. That's more akin to what I imagine this is going to look like.
Yeah. Now, taking the so it seems like you guys watched it, right? I mean, you guys were into the show. I was, and from this knowledge that you guys have, I would assume that you were fans of the show when it was airing. What do you think? Are you going to watch it out of curiosity and nostalgia's sake, or are you going to just skip it and hold true to Powerpuff Girls that you remember?
Personally, I like all these nitty gritty, like the darker versions of all these shows. You know what I mean? Like they have that show on Amazon Prime called The Boys, where it's like the dark version of superheroes, and I think it's fantastic. You know what I mean? One of my favorite movies of all time is The Watchmen. You know what I mean? It's a dark it's a dark look on how superhero being is. You know what I mean? And I think those are fantastic. And then also, I have a fat crush on Dove Cameron, so of course I'm gonna watch it.
I'm not against the idea of watching it. I'm probably going to need to have enough people tell me to, though. I don't think I'm going to jump on it right away. I'm not a super big fan of anything that CW has really thrown my way. And I just have the back of my brain, tingle on the neck feeling that this isn't going to lean towards the more superhero action that we're maybe thinking, and it's going to be more of a Riverdale. Like high school, that this is going to be more, romantic entanglements and drama with occasional superpowers. But I am perfectly willing to have it be a good version of that or be proven wrong. So I'm open to it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch it out of curiosity's sake. I feel like I have to see it. I just have to see how they play it out and either be disappointed or, surprised. I would be the first one to say, and we'll review it on this show once it comes out, like, it was darn good. I was very surprised, or it was terrible as everything I thought it was going to be horrible.
Yeah, I'm curious about it too. And I was reading a paragraph here. It kind of reminds me a little bit of The Incredibles. So Bennett will portray Blossom, although she was a spunky, conscientious Little Miss Perfect child who holds several advanced degrees. Blossom's repressed kitty superhero trauma has left her feeling anxious and reclusive, and she aims to become a leader again, this time on her own terms. So I got like in the first Incredibles movie, how they're wanting to be superheroes again, although it was outlawed. Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it looks like their lives got normalized, and they're trying to come back to their superhero lifestyle. So that might be an interesting approach. I am curious to see how they do that. But when Ian mentioned Riverdale, I was thinking we're thinking monsters. They may be just thinking how to get through college. That could be their difficulty. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes.
The drama. Yeah, interesting. Well, we got a lot of movies coming out, and we'll just go down the list and talk about what we're excited about. Snyder Cut, Justice League is coming out March 18th. That's soon. And Falcon and Winter Soldier coming out March 19th. Godzilla versus King Kong March 31st. And Mortal Kombat April 16th. Now, what do you guys think about Snyder Cut being 4 hours long? Do you guys even care to see the Justice League? Because the last Justice League, I mean, it was just a wreck. But apparently it was Joss Whedon taking liberties on something that was already a finished product and only needed some revisions. What do you guys think before it's available on Thursday? Are you guys even interested in watching it? Do you care? Is this on your radar?
This
What
is
are
a
your guys'
weird.
thoughts on it?
It's a weird predicament for me because at this point, I feel like I've been so burned by the large majority of DCEU movies that no, I'm not interested in the Snyder Cut, and I am going to be watching it Thursday night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Have you, so apparently early viewings have been received very well. Most people who have seen it have actually said it's actually funny. It's more cohesive. There's more focus on the family relationship of the Justice League. It's definitely more mature. They say it's rated R, but it plays very PG. And that overall the 4 hours seem like a 2.5 hour movie. So
That's interesting because I've read the exact opposite. I read an early reaction that says that like if you thought it was a slog before, that you're going to be shoulder deep in mud. That you know.
Oh man, we'll see now. I don't know what to expect.
I mean, it's. I think it all depends on expectation. I do think there's people who are going to love it no matter what. They've been begging for it, you know.
Yeah.
And I also think there are hardcore DC fans that are just looking to see what they love on screen done in a fairly cohesive way, and they're gonna like it too. Coming from a guy who is only a casual DC fan, honestly, and I mean, my favorite DCEU movie so far has been Birds of Prey, and I can't really talk positively about any of the other ones.
Wow.
A little bit on
I don't blame you.
Wonder Woman is like my middle tier, but everything else I have not been a fan of so far.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going into this being like, all right, here's the exciting conclusion or the next chapter and something that, you know, I'm super into, because it's never been my bag from the start, you know?
Yeah, it definitely also, like, I feel like the thunder has been stolen when you already know that they're planning to reboot the entire series, like, completely. They're going to have, yes, J.J. Abrams is already attached to...
well, that's his Superman reboot that he's working on.
Apparently it's a whole new reboot of the whole series.
Because what I was reading is that they are kind of going into what you would refer to as a multiverse idea, but it's just that they can tell their own stories in their own ways, and some will be connected, some won't. It won't be as important. You know, there's already going to be 3 concurrent Jokers going at one time,
right?
You know, so at this point, it's just, if we have a story to tell using these characters, we'll go ahead and tell it. You know, we're not worried about how it's going to tie everything in at like Disney is, but I think that's going to be their saving grace, because they're going to be able to pull out a Logan that Marvel is not able to pull out of their pocket anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And it's just a mess. Like, there's just no continuity. It's kind of like,
I think like
comics. Do I follow?
I was gonna say, I think the MCU has also tarnished our perspective on these kinds of things. It doesn't all have to connect. You know what I mean? They all could have their own independent movies, just like you were saying, just like comic books. You know what I mean? Although it's nice to have an MCU and everything to be continuous and have continuity and whatnot, we're pretty much for the first time ever seeing that right now with the MCU. This has never really been done on the scale that we have right now. So I think for them to have, you know, reboots over and over again is annoying, but not out of the norm. I think the MCU is out of the norm.
I think it's annoying because we've started to associate the word reboot with that, or call these things reboots. We say they're rebooting Superman. No, they're making another Superman. You know, they're not rebooting anything. I mean, we say that because we've you know, as a culture, decided that cinema works where you make a movie and then that world will be built out forever until it sucks, and then you have to start over. And that's not necessarily how storytelling works, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, look at
independent.
Look at the 100 years of comics history, where, you know, you have simultaneous Supermans running, you know, at all times, on top of storylines where they're, you know, overlapping, and when timelines are going over and around each other and whatnot. So I think it's more to be expected, and it's allowing these characters and these worlds to become the playgrounds I think they deserve to be, because that's one thing that is lacking in the MCU is more unique voices. I think they've hired some really talented filmmakers, like a Taika Waititi, to work on the Thor Ragnarok, and you get something that's pretty cool, but you step outside of that movie and you see the other things he's made as a filmmaker, and you go, I want him off a leash. I don't want him doing, on Disney and short choked by Disney and Marvel, And I think Warner Brothers and DC has realized that that's the way they're going to stand out. So they're going to start letting creatives off the leash and play with these characters. And that's more exciting to me than whatever they were working on to try and tie everything together. That makes perfect sense. Louis, you have any opinions on it?
I haven't really looked into it too much. I'm a little indifferent about it. Yeah, can't really say much on it. I'm definitely willing to watch it. Just check it out.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Ian. Like, I mean, you can see I have my, Superman shrine, and then,
shrine
over there, and countless comics over there. I have to see it. Like, I feel like I don't have a choice. On Thursday, maybe Friday, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna sit through it, and I'm gonna love it and hate it at the same, because it's just the way it is. When you love something so much, but they don't.
Just like we talked about with Pokemon earlier, and Harry Potter and all these things, you're gonna have gripes. You're gonna be disappointed every time.
Yeah.
Yep. But you have to get it because you just feel an obligation to it. And then you'll just discuss it later and see what happens.
You never know. There's a jumping off point for everything. I remember what was it, that second Mark Wahlberg Transformers movie? Was it Transformers like 5 or whatever? Like, I remember I watched the fourth one when it was Mark Wahlberg and TJ Miller, and I remember getting about halfway through it in the theater and going, wait a minute, I don't have to do this.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, the trailer for 5 comes out and I go, no. You got me last time, but you won't get me this time.
Yeah.
This is not an obligation.
That happened to me with The Last Airbender, the M. Night Shyamalan's movie of The Last Airbender. I probably got through when the screen has the little, what is it called? When the scroll comes up and it narrates, the whole.
Oh, yeah.
Water, earth, fire, air. These are the 4 elements. I walked out after that. As soon as they said Avatar instead of Avatar, I was like, okay, this is not my movie. Let's go, hun.
Avatar.
Like, I just couldn't, And I think you're right. I think there at some point there is a jumping off point when you just realize this is not worth my emotion.
You've been fulfilled.
I've been failed
Fulfilled.
once.
I love that.
This may be it, or it may restore my faith in humanity, and I will continue to watch DC movies. Who knows? But I just hope it's good.
That's the thing. I'm never rooting against it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I want to be proven wrong.
Exactly.
Yes. I want to watch it and enjoy it, and I hope I will. But that being said, thank you all for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, please smash the like button below and subscribe to our channel. If you have any recommendations for to review or news we missed, let us know in the comments below. Thank you, Ian, for being part of the show. Thank you, Adam, for being part of the show. Thank you guys for all the expertise you brought to the table. And man, I've learned so much. Louis, I don't know if you got anything from it, but
I did. This has been a journey. Just picking Ian's brain on Pokemon, all the way to Apex. Being convinced by Adam to try Apex out, even though I'm not a big FPS guy. He definitely sold it to me, made it sound interesting. So yeah, definitely, we had a journey tonight. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely,
Same here, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now everyone, go check out. Was it Kicking It episode 2? Check out Adam wearing a leotard. It's gonna be great.
Now available Disney Plus. Let's go.
Yes,
it's on there, man.
If we can find it, we'll put it up and put it in our video. But until next time, I'm Fonz here with Louie. We'll catch you on the flip side.